you.
Oh, okay, that's good. Hello. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. It's good to see everyone. It's been a while. Happy Midnight Sun Thursday, or Ari, I think you called it something else on Instagram. Whatever. I would think anybody that's going to be on tonight would know who I am. But in case you don't, I'm Amy. I'm also known as Oh My Carlisle. I am on Instagram, Twitter. Happy Midnight Sun Thursday. But you can find also me and Mel, who I'll introduce in a second. She's making faces. We host Twilight Tuesday every Tuesday, except the next 2 weeks because we're taking off for the holidays, where we've been rereading the books all year and just finished Midnight Sun, and we'll be starting Breaking Dawn in January. And back in the day, I worked on hisgoldeneyes.com, which then became pageturpremiere.com, and that's my story. So let me kick it over to Kara, because you're the next one over in my windows.
Hi, everybody. Hey, everyone. Glad you could join us again. This is Kara from Twilight Moms. You may have originally known me as Illuminate. And then with the reboot of TwilightMoms.net, I went back to my regular title, which is Moonlighting KO, or KO Moonlighting from Twitter to Instagram. I've been part of this wacky, lovey, fabulous fandom for longer than I care to admit. I think I realized the other day it was late 2007 or early 2008. 12 flipping years ago. And I'm so glad that you guys are all with us on this ride as we go around the Midnight Sun one more time.
Woo-hoo. Happy holidays. Let me hand over to Melissa.
Hey everybody, I'm Melissa or Mel. You can find me on my Instagram, Rosalie85, or over on ladies_of_Isle Esme, Ladies of Isle Esme on Facebook as well. I started off doing a Twilight Addicts Anonymous, something like that on Facebook. Got involved basically via watching everything on the lexicon. And now, as Amy said, we do Twilight Tuesdays and are taking a holiday break, which I'm grateful for. It gives me time to read.
Savvy.
I'm just realizing I think I'm the only unattached person in this in this grouping. So I'm Savvy. You can find me on Instagram under Troy's My Angel. Also on any other platform if I go on it, but Instagram is my main one. And back in the day, I was just a huge fan that got to go and do a lot of really cool things, and that's how I met all these ladies. And just very happy to still be part of the fandom. I think mine is this year would be 11 years. Yeah, my first event was in October of 2009. So yeah, 11 years this year.
Wow. And you're not just a fan. You're an amazing fan.
Just a fan that just got to do a lot of stuff.
Laura, welcome back.
Hello. Oh. So hi, I'm Laura. Back in the day, I was Pel or Pelirroja, as those of you who speak Spanish will understand why that is true. That was my screen name back in the day, and I helped co-found Twilight Lexicon with Lori. Fun fact, Lori was the founder, and she approached me. All I was supposed to do, everybody, was summarize the odd chapters of Twilight. That was all I was supposed to do.
Nice.
It clearly got a lot bigger than that. But that was originally what my task was, and it grew by leaps and bounds.
Yay. Well, we're happy to see you.
Yeah, happy to be back.
I wish I was with everybody in New Jersey right now, but
yeah, I was living in Philadelphia, and I now live in North New Jersey, fairly close to where Kara lives. So yeah. Which is kind of like where I used to live. So like, yeah, we're closer, yeah.
Closer, but still can't see or talk to each other in person.
Yeah, no. Hello, COVID, like not happening, right? Yeah.
Well, you know, when I finally can like get a vaccination and come visit, we'll do like a Jersey gathering.
Yeah. No, I mean, Kara and I used to do like bookstore meetups back in the day.
Yeah.
Like wherever, like whenever that would happen, Kara and I were almost always in the same place because of where we lived.
Oh, wow. Well, we'll grab Gabby and Lee Orlando, and
yeah.
Oh my gosh, that would be amazing.
That would be so cool. I was just texting with Lee.
Lori, hi.
It was ugly Christmas sweater day. at school.
Very nice.
Gotta love it.
And I've got my jingle bells on and my hat and all, and I thought, well, if I take the hat off now, then I have to do my hair because it'll have like hat hair. So that's why you're getting Santa. And actually people at my school said, that's not ugly. And I was like, are you kidding me?
Apparently we need to reset our benchmark for ugly.
No, like a couple years ago, I went into my mom's closet and I was like, do you have an ugly Christmas sweater? Like pawning through her clothes, and I pulled this out and I'm like, oh my gosh. And she says to me, oh, that's not ugly. I love that. And I said, that settles it. I'm taking it and you're never getting it back because no one should wear this except on ugly Christmas sweater day. So
Nice.
Very nice 8-bit sweater.
I'm Lori, and I'm also one of the founders of the Twilight Lexicon, and have been trying to keep people entertained during this pandemic, and then had to hit real life and become a teacher in COVID, which is a nightmare. I mean, I knew once school started back up that it was going to be difficult, but no. There is nothing there. Nothing. No, I can't. No. So this is my escapism tonight. We're escaping. And when I reached out to people and I was like, so I could do this tonight. We could have a chat tonight. And people were like, yeah, let's chat. And then I said, well, what do we talk about? What do we talk about? Because my brain is so fried that actually, like, usually when we come up with a list of topics, I don't know about you guys, but I will research, or I'll flip through the book, or I'll give it some thought. And I'm like, I don't want to think, but I do want to talk. So, and I want to have a little fun. So we're going to talk about some things that hopefully make some people laugh and maybe cringe a little and say, oh my gosh. And yeah, and those of you that are watching with us, feel free to chime in and ask any questions along these lines. But we're kind of talking fandom related, not so much book specific. But we're going to talk fandom related. And we are going to start by discussing, I made a list. We're going to start by discussing some of the most unusual, oh my gosh, wait. Some of the most unusual and crazy like emails or inbox requests that we have gotten as either big name fans or as website owners or something like that. Crazy things that we have gotten in our emails or our inboxes that says, hey, could you or would you answer this question or something along those lines. Your crazy inbox, whatever weirdness has come through your inbox. So I usually give them a list of who's going first. So I'm wondering, I see Amy is smiling down there. Amy?
Oh, I'm down. I'm next to you.
Oh, well, it's a different shape. You and Mel have been like the most prolific, I think, of all of us in the fandom right now. And so I'm wondering of your current ones, if there's anything that keeps popping up recently that's driving you crazy or something like that. But let's start with you. Give us some crazy inbox messages.
I know. I was thinking of I should pull up my DMs.
To go get my phone. I say, go get my phone. Because I take screen grabs of them and I send them to you guys. And I'm like, can you believe this?
Well, there are some classics that are just like on wash, rinse, repeat. Request number 952 is Stephanie Meyer going to write New Moon from Edward's point of view. I used to have like a Google Doc of just like stock answers to a couple questions. Highlight, copy, paste, smack, because they would just repeat all the time.
I mean, for me, a lot of times is like, oh, can you get this to Peter Facinelli? Or can you introduce me to Peter Facinelli? Or do you think I should reach out to Peter Facinelli on direct messages? I'm really shy, but I want to message him and asking my opinion on this, which somebody continued to do for a while. And I was just like, you're super shy. I was finally like, well, that's awfully ballsy of you if you think that it's okay to just message him. And you have I wouldn't necessarily do that. So, and he knows me. I mean, I get similar requests too at times with Elizabeth Reeser, like, can you somehow connect me to her?
Right.
I will say, like, I'm like, I don't know who's on this, but I had a situation recently with one of my contests where somebody asked me to pretty much like, oh, my friend who you know who she is, like, really would love that prize, like, pretty much she want me to cheat and just give the prize to her instead of
Oh
to,
yeah, I had a couple of those back in the day. Yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
because she deserves it. So I mean, things like that, those are probably some of the more recent ones. But I said a lot of times I just will kind of like block it out. Like, I'll have my moment, I'll message it to Mel and be like, can you believe this? And then let it go.
Anybody that's ever given anything away, I think we've all had the inbox request of, can you give that to me or to this person? Can you give it that, you know, or do you have, I get it a lot, do you have an autograph that you can give me?
Yeah, I definitely got it.
Yeah.
I've gotten too, like, from showing off different things, like, oh, if you were ever going to sell that, can you sell it to me? Or like, oh, I want one. Like, I'll be like, oh, I have, like, you know, something of this. And then somebody will message me and be like, can I have one?
Yeah.
Like, that's, yeah, that I'm not doing it as a giveaway. Like, so I've had people ask me if I'm ever going to sell my Bella bedding. Like, could they be like the first one to buy it? Things like, you know, that, people wanting to, yeah, buy my stuff. I'm like, you can't have it. It's mine.
How about you, Mel? Have you had some odd requests recently?
Recently, not really, aside from just those general, like we did our giveaway on Ladies of Val Esme. I did my own giveaway and had people just constantly like, so I don't have this and I really, really need it. So can you just send it to me? No. Back during Twilight filming, because I had a friend that I'd met via online, she would bring her computer illegally to set. And she actually would chat with Rob quite frequently. And one of the times he just like hopped on her computer and started chatting with me. Right after that, I had so many people like, can you get me in touch with Robert Pattinson? Like, I know that you've talked to him. Can you just do that for me? No, I messaged him through my friend Julie's messenger. Like, can't help you.
I'm looking at other things too. So, well,
I think, yeah, and just the general, like, since our theme for Twilight Tuesdays is Stephanie, we have questions. Questions that have already been answered frequently.
Yeah.
Okay, we could do an entire topic on just that. We could just take a minute and I'll come back to this question because the rest of us haven't answered it. But the number one question that you never want to answer again, for me, what does Edward do when Bella has her period? I'm done. And it's usually in the form of, I don't know if I was reading the book the other day and it just suddenly hit me. What does Edward do when Bella has her period? And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I don't know that one tops that. That was definitely my least favorite, like on repeat as well, I would say. Definitely.
I think it's so repeated that I believe that this is probably the fourth or fifth time we've talked about that question in these chats.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
And I just got it like last week again.
no, I mean, we always get the questions now, like, is she going to do the rest of the books? No. Is she going to write about Leah? Yes. Is she going to write about Renesmee? Yes. Like, is she going to write about like the other characters? No, not unless they're in those stories. What are the other ones right now?
Is Rob coming back for the next movie? Because there's another movie.
Into a movie.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah.
And
Is Rob coming back to the next movie?
Trailer on YouTube, and they really think there's a major movie, and yeah, those are always good ones. Yeah.
All right, so back to our original question of like inbox craziness, inbox zaniness. I'm going to save, like Laura and I will probably answer together. So I'm going to go to Kara.
Well, you already covered one of the weirdest. Most recently, I've got two separate questions last week. Same idea of Bella's period. What about a Diva Cup? book was written before that existed. I'm not going anywhere else with that. It's got a
I
tagline.
still like my answer. It's
I think your
not
answer is the
shot
best, and I
glass.
think that's what I'm going to do.
I want to put the barf emoji right on top of my face right now.
I bet, you know,
Not a shot glass, folks. Don't work that way.
that's absolutely the grossest and most frequent. I have some cute ones now that actually from this iteration of people who are either now moms or older or dealing with, their nieces and things that are now the second generation of Twilight coming up. And they're, how young is too young for my daughter, my cousin, my niece to start reading Twilight? My niece is only 12. She started reading. What do you think? As another mom, what can I not talk about? And I was like, get to Breaking Dawn. Like, you can go through the first 3 books and you're fine. And she's probably already seen worse on Netflix, but we won't go there right now. But I think that's been the most fun, is reconnecting with people that I probably haven't talked to in 6, 7, 8 years in some cases. And people like, for example, as you know, going back to the original Twilight set, Twilight Baby. Hi, mom of Twilight Baby. In case people don't know her name, I don't want her to get harassed on Facebook. Twilight Baby's 13, y'all. Just put that out there.
Oh, like the
Wow.
Black Beauty trailer that came out recently. And I'm like, oh, hello, Mackenzie Foy. I was just like, it took me like 4 beats to go, where do I know that person from? And I was like, oh, yes, that was, yes, yeah. Yes.
So that's been the most fun and the cutest lately. And yes, no, I do not have Stephanie Meyer's phone number. No, we can't get you in touch with her. And absolutely not, I am not sending her your fan fiction. I cannot send you her fan fiction, even if I could. And no, she can't read it.
Well, I am eternally grateful we're no longer going to get the question of when is the sequel to Midnight Sun going to come out, because that was probably neck and neck with the period question.
The fan fiction, but the fan fiction goes even further. And this is kind of going into what my answer was going to be. It's not just fan fiction, it's, can you get Stephanie to let me finish the series?
I have a better ending.
I want to write the book where Bella ends up with Jacob. And I'm like, yeah, that's called fan fiction. No, but I don't want it to be fan fiction. I want it to be a book. And I'm like, yeah, that's fan fiction.
Well, fan fiction can become a book and become very profitable. Anyway.
Anyway.
I found the message. The person didn't want to DM Peter. She actually wanted to Instagram call him.
Oh.
And was asking me that she wanted to make a video call to Peter, the actor, on Instagram, but I'm shy. What do you think? Can I call him on Instagram via video call? And I was like, I think it's inappropriate. So to continue to keep asking me, like if it was like asking my permission, and I just stopped.
Yeah, because clearly you're the arbiter of Peter.
You're the keeper of Peter.
I apparently keep Peter and I keep Elizabeth. So
that's nice.
It's not a bad job, but
hey.
No, there are worse jobs.
Abby, do you get things like this?
I did. I used to quite a bit. A lot of the requests were for Charlie Bewley, because apparently I'm his keeper too. A few times it was actually like requested at a convention that he was there at and I was there at, and I was like,
oh God, I just remembered something now that you, I just can't. I just remember
that story might come up soon. Really inappropriate ones. I got asked once if Charlie is intact or cut. I'm like, don't really know.
Yeah.
Don't know the answer to that. And why are you asking?
Yeah, seriously.
Not really appropriate. Okay. I think the weirdest thing was to give. I mean, everybody had stuff. They're like, if I send it to you, can you give it to Charlie? I'm like, no, that's not happening. When I posted a couple pictures that I had, or a couple of autographs that I have of Rob, then the Rob requests came in like, oh my God, you know him. So can you tell him this or this? I'm like, don't know him. Like, was at an event like thousands of others. So those ones were fun. I think the most eyebrow raising one for me was a lady that I just kind of knew in periphery, had like a package, like a care package that she wanted to give to Charlie and Daniel and oh my God, why am I blanking on his name right now? Basically one of the other Volturi members. And when I said, no, I can't really do that, she actually flew to Louisiana and stalked them, found out their hotel rooms, and then gave them the stuff. So I was like, yeah, no, that's not okay. So that was a lovely email that I got, the whole like breakdown of like how she did that. And I'm like, oh, this is lovely as to what I will never ever do. But okay. So yeah, that was kind of the weirdest one.
That is frightening.
That's scary.
It was, but at the same time, it was like she was harmless. Like she wasn't going to do anything besides, here, I'm so excited, let me give you this, and thinking that she was creating a relationship that way. Nothing like, oh my God, I'm going to marry you, and if you don't do that, like I'm going to off myself. Like, yeah, no, but basically harmless, just crossing a lot of lines into, okay, this is weird.
Well, as Laura knows, because we share an email, we share we can both see the lexicon email. We get lots of requests for like when the movies were first coming out, we would get audition submissions, audition requests. People sent us music that they thought could be Bella's lullaby. The number of times I've had to tell people that, number one, I'm not Stephanie Meyer. Number two, I'm not Summit Entertainment. Number three, nobody listens to me anyway. You know?
I got no pony in this race. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of those.
I think I'm trying to think after the Bella's period thing. What do you think is the number one question we get after Bella's period?
It used to be, when will she finish Midnight Sun? Like clearly
Yeah.
that it was absolutely that.
Mm-hmm.
After that, it's usually just a random, it's just like the next sequel movie or next remake in the movie, or random, can you get me the contact information of insert name of human.
Insert name of actor.
It's one that I just got recently is how do vampires, if they don't have any fluid in their body, how do they have sperm?
I was going to say it's another bodily fluid thing.
I was going to say it's probably about Edward's sperm.
Yes.
That comes up a lot.
We have an entire lexicon thread on that, Lord knows.
Bella's period and Edward's sperm.
Mm-hmm. My explanation has become.
Wait, I got to tell a
it's like
story
glitter.
here, because this one started something one day. It's Lori's fault. People were having a perfectly normal as it could be, bodily fluids discussion. And this one, for reasons best known to her, decides to go down a tangent. You know what I'm going to do. Decides to go down a tangent in what was a perfectly reasonable thread on the lexicon, and she decides that Edward's quote unquote spoo sparkles.
Yeah.
When I tell you chaos ensued, I am not kidding. All I know is I posted 2 news stories. Next thing I know, I have every single forum moderator in my DMs having a coronary because we have apparently breached the PG-13 line on the lexicon, and they don't know what to do about it.
And look at whose fault it is.
Oh, and I'd like, this isn't, I'm sitting there going, why have all the mods suddenly gone stupid? Like they know what the line is. And then finally one of them timidly goes, the poster is Lori. And I'm like, well, what? And they're like, I think you better see this.
No pun intended. What came out of that was they were using the sparkly spoo for all kinds of creative sparkly projects.
There were DMs, there were gifts, it just took on a life of its own to the day that I think this is the only thread on the lexicon that was like, warning, possibly explicitly graphic. There isn't another thread that's like that. This one derailed it.
You know, sometimes you just get fed up with it.
I was like, oh my God.
I think that came out of I've said this many times. If you can believe he's dead,
why is the rest so hard?
And
Let's put it this way. I mean, you guys have also like been on forums and you've seen forum moderators. When's the last time you had 6 forum moderators all agree on something?
Yeah. Yep.
But I had 6 forum moderators having a cow. And I was like, what is going on?
But it came out of like the frustration of all of this. You know, if you can believe that he's dead and his skin is hard and he sparkles in the sun and he drinks blood, why can you just not accept that he has sperm? And I just like lost it and went off on a tangent and said something about it. And I bet his spoo even sparkles.
Yeah.
Oh no, I remember actually having a conversation, like an anatomical conversation with a couple of fans. Like it could be possible because of like, why could you not put that together? And then I realized
this is what happens when autograph lines are too long. These
Yes.
are
Oh God,
yes.
This line
You're standing, you're sitting, you've done all the play. Oh, you're from Philadelphia. That's nice. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, for real.
But here's the thing. That came out before, like I remember the sparkly spoo thing was all happening before Breaking Dawn.
Yes,
Because
absolutely was.
The weight on my shoulders of the fact that I knew she was going to get pregnant, and the entire fandom was like, no, that could never happen.
Oh, we would tap dance around that answer. We would avoid the forums. At a certain point, I realized I had to avoid posting in my own forums because the other problem too, and I realized this I don't remember which creation fan convention this was, but they used to frequently have Lori and I in charge of the trivia. And if there was a question of whether or not somebody got something right or not, we were the arbiter of what the answer was. And there was something about Alice's age. And I'm like, no, she's not. And then all of a sudden I was realizing, well, yeah, because Alice, and I was like, oh, never mind. That other answer is correct. It is perfectly fine. And they're like, you know something. What do you know? And I'm like, do not reveal that you have just written an entire guide. Like I had the wrong set of information going through my head. And I realized how easy it was for that information to slip out by mistake. And at the same time, we were contractually not allowed to say that we were working on that at the time. So I couldn't say to somebody, I can't do this because like, it was a problem. So it was just trying to now like avoid things, or I got very good at like smiling and nodding or turning it around and going, well, what do you think? And then just agreeing with whatever they thought. Like that was like the easiest way to get out of it. Cause I was just like, crap, wrong info running through brain, wrong info running through brain. Yeah.
I had to stop writing fan fiction because I was rewriting Twilight from Edward's point of view. And then she let me read Midnight Sun. And I was like, I can't write it anymore. I know too much. And people are like, well, can't you just ignore it? And I'm like, no, I can't, because I'm the type that if it's canon, then I want my story to be legitimate. I want it to make sense within the canon. I'm not good at doing like the what if scenarios and changing one thing and making it go another way. And so like I would read my fan fiction. I'm like, well, this sucks because it's wrong.
Yeah.
Read that anymore.
What if they were human and somebody was into BDSM, you know?
Right. We have lots of laughter in the chat over our sparkly.
Sparkly Spoo?
Sparkly
Really?
discussion.
Can't
Sparkly
imagine
Spoo.
why.
Okay, so how about this one? How about the first time that within the fandom people have known us? So what was like the first time you were out and about, like at a fandom event, and somebody recognized you, and how did you deal with that, and what was that like? So Kara, you had said that was creepy.
Well, my first one was super creepy because it wasn't at a fan event. I had been doing, maybe I had done one. I had been doing a couple of interviews before Breaking Dawn came out. So I'd done a couple of interviews with like the Daily News and this and that. And so my picture was kind of out there, but it's Twilight Moms. Who really knows me? I think I had been to one in-person event prior to that. And I'm walking down Times Square. The fact that I was even walking on Times Square means I was having a bad day because it's too crowded and there's too many tourists. And out of nowhere, this woman starts shouting, "Illuminate, illuminate," which was my screen name. And I kind of looked around and I'm like, oh, she doesn't mean me. It keeps going. And she grabs me because she's from Alabama. She grabs my shoulder. I turn around like, oh my God, I'm going to have to hit someone in the middle of Times Square. And she's like, "You're illuminate, you're illuminate. I know you are." And I went, and my brain is clicking. And she's like, "Aren't you on Twilight Moms?" Because now my brain, and I'm like, "Yes." And she's like, "Didn't you go the new moon set?" And I went, "Yes." And she's like, "I'm," put in her screen name here. And I'm like, "Oh, hey, what you doing in New York?" And it was utterly bizarre. Also because her husband and her teenage son were with her. And the son looked like he wanted to go like bury himself in a theater somewhere and never be seen again. Because this had now become a thing, because now people are staring at us like, oh, she must be in a TV or something, because now people are starting to look at us. He's like, "Take my picture with her, take my picture with her. Oh my God, have you seen this?" And I was like, "Shh, be quiet, please be quiet." It was not fun the first time. The first time it happened at a convention, it was super cool. But the first time in the middle of Times Square when I'm like, walking to work, going to do a lighting demo for someone, that's not where my headspace was at. It was not good.
Yeah.
Savvy, have you ever gotten like, "Oh, that's the girl with the shaving in her hair"?
Yeah, I did it both. I got it at conventions or at events mostly. But I did get it a couple of times up here where I live. When they would do the Twilight Marathon. So whenever any of the new movies would come out, they would basically just have an evening where you could come in, buy a ticket, and then get all the previous movies you would watch. And then at midnight, you would watch the new one, which was uber fun. I totally loved that. And by the time that Eclipse came out, not only had I gone to one of the premieres, but I got in contact with somebody from one of my local theaters and was like, "Hey, I know that you guys have been planning this stuff. Do you guys want like an MC or somebody that could be there the day of, so that then it's not just, you come in, you sit down. It's like we could have like little events, stuff like that." They're like, "Yeah, sure." So I started kind of working with one of my local theaters to do that. And I remember right before going into one of the first screenings, I had a girl come up to me and she goes, "Oh my God, I totally know who you are." And I was like, "Really?" I was like, "Because I don't know who I am." But and she's like, "Yeah, oh my God, I was like watching some of the live streams from the premiere, and I saw you like at the premiere, and I saw you online and all your postings and stuff like that." She's like, "I love your hair, you're so cool." And I was like, "Really? Okay, cool." So it was kind of cool because it was still in the context of Twilight. Like I was there to do something with Twilight. But I think the most random one that I ever got was like at my local like hardware store. Like I was just in there. I didn't have anything in my hair. I actually probably had like my rainbow hair at the time. Like my hair was like bright purple or something. And I had a guy come up to me and be like, "Oh my God, I think I know who you are." I'm like, and again, my question would be like, "Really?" Because I don't. That's my answer. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm a Twilight fan. And I think I've seen you in a lot of stuff, like a lot of like conventions and a lot of events and stuff. It's like, I love your hair." I'm like, "Right now?" Or like, "But I usually do too." And I was like, "Because I like both." That was kind of the most random one that I got. It was just like standing there in the middle of like Ace Hardware, and this dude's like, "Hey, I know who you are." I was like, "Oh."
How about you, Mel?
Probably the strangest thing, because I never expect anybody to really remember who I am, especially since my hair changes so frequently, especially in color. The regional manager of Hot Topic. I had gone to Robert Pattinson signing at Hot Topic in 2008. 2009 rolled around and they did another one in Chicago, obviously like an hour outside of the city. And that was for Ashley and Kellen. And when we were all sitting in line, he just comes up and he's like, "Melissa, what are you doing here? How do you remember my name from a year ago? I haven't seen you in a year." So that was probably the strangest one, because he still remembered my name. And I definitely looked different by that point. The other one that I thought was kind of weird was during the Eclipse premiere, I was one of the fortunate 25 that got to go to Billy Burke's CD release party at House of Blues. That morning, I had been interviewed on one of the LA news stations because of my tattoos. And when my friend and I got there, the hostess was like, "Were you on the news this morning?" "Yeah."
Oh,
"Are you a Twilight fan? Is that why you're here?" "Yeah." "Yeah, that's me."
How about you, Amy?
So I mean, I was thinking about it, and the thing is, like, I was out doing a fan events and doing things before I started writing for the site. So like some people like knew me, from Twitter a little bit ahead of time. But then like, I started going to things and people knew me because of His Golden Eyes, and they also knew, oh my Carlisle. I mean, I had that kind of niche in the Carlisle Esme fandom.
Yeah.
But
You
the one
weren't like the 3 billion throb fan from the right, like you.
Yes. And I mean, and that was what kind of like, was my sort of standout thing in the fandom, was that, I was like, whatever with the rest of them, I'm Team Carlisle and Esme. That's what I'm committed to and still am and always will be. So, but I would say one of the ones, this is kind of after movies and everything, I was in Disney World and we had like, it was 2015. There was a big group of us did like, there's like, they always do like a thing with the Disney Visa card that you can get like a photo or go to character thing. And it was like Mickey and Goofy and like 14 of us. So, and you get like a free picture. So my mom, I don't know, I think off doing something with one of my brothers or something. And my mom goes to pick up the picture, somewhere near the front gate, guest relations or something. And the girl there is like, looks at my mom and she's like, points to the picture and points to me, and she's like, she here, she with you? She's like, well, no. She's like, oh, she's like, is that your daughter? And she's like, yeah. She's like, I follow her online. She's like, she's on my Carlisle. Like in this picture of 14 people, and how many pictures in Disney World were that day? And she recognized me, and I put it out there, and nobody has ever come forward and said they were that person, which is so funny because we know so many like the Olympic Coven people that work in Disney World, but yeah, had never found out who the person was who knew me in the Epcot photos place. And the other thing would be, we joke that I'm Forks famous because I was going into like not during the festival. Mel and I were out in Forks like last fall. And I'm going into the grocery store, and this girl is coming out and like does the gasp, and it was like, like, oh my God, like I know you, like I follow you online, like you don't know who I am, like you're on my Carlisle. And it turned out it was a friend of Mel's, but like didn't know that and that I was going to be there. And so had that moment. And then when we were out in Forks a couple of weeks ago, we're in the line at the gas station, and all of a sudden I hear like somebody go, oh my Carlisle, what's oh my Carlisle gonna be posted on Instagram later today? And I turned around, it was one of the guys that works on the festival in Forks, but it was like Lizzie Andrews, who's the director of the Forks Chamber of Commerce, that was the one originally said on Forks famous, and it continues.
I love that.
Can you imagine what would happen if we all just secretly went to Forks and just like doing a YouTube live from Forks?
That'd be amazing. I will say one more thing was I've started, I don't know if you all have seen, I know Mel has, I've been doing the 12 Days of Twilight Christmas. And so I had somebody on, so like, I'm not a TikTok user. This is like my first like TikTok campaign, I guess. Somebody in the comments on one of my TikToks was like, oh my God, like you were all over the For Twilight Forever DVD.
Like, I get it more from that. Yeah.
Moments still happen.
Right. Well, I kind of did that because I was in Forks in late September. I'm still part of the Patreon group for the Hillywood Girls, and so they have private Zoom call meetings if you're a certain tier on their Patreon. And so they were having one the day that I was arriving at Forks. So I told them, I was like, hey, so during the Zoom call, I have a surprise for you ladies. And so like I sat on the Zoom call and I was literally outside, like right in front of the Forks, a welcome sign for most of the time. And then at the end of the call, I turned and I was like, look, like this is your surprise. And they're like, oh my God, you're there. I was like, yeah. But yeah, we should do that. We should all just like converge there at a time and do that. That would be so great.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time trying not to get recognized because at the time my son was in middle school and high school, and it is very hard to be a middle schooler and a high schooler as it is, let alone having a mom with a strange hobby. Like it just, and I knew like what our inbox was. I didn't want him to be suddenly the carrier of, Mom, the girls in my class want to know if, like, I just didn't want to put that kind of pressure on him. So the trick that I would do is, if you'll notice in the fandom, almost all the time, I'm not wearing glasses. Like I would go on stage, I would take my glasses off. I would almost always have my glasses off. And then the other thing I did was, at the time I was married and I hyphenated my last name. So that I normally in town went by what was my husband's name, but I threw my maiden name in the front with a hyphen, and it would throw people off. Like I did that sort of deliberately. And then both names were a little difficult to spell. One that people routinely misspelled. So I just wouldn't correct them. So I sort of like on purpose tried not to get recognized. And most of the time that kind of worked. The only 2 times that I remember it being a thing was early on, like probably like a book signing for New Moon. And it was like, we'd only been running the lexicon for like, I don't know, 6-7 months at that point, Lori, I don't know. So I'm down at my local Borders, and you know, I had just gotten a digital camera where you could shoot a movie. Like digital cameras were new, okay? Like this is the world we're in, folks, right? So I'm using this new digital camera to shoot some segments, you know, just like fans lining up, and like, I'm not like all in their face. I'm just kind of like in the back doing it, right? Because like, I don't know what I'm doing. None of us had ever been on a red carpet before. And Lori then calls me and she's like, hey, so did you get there? What are you doing? What are the crowds like? I'm like, oh yeah, like it's actually, there's a lot of people here, blah, 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 blah. She goes, does anybody recognize you? I was like, oh no, Lori, nobody knows who we are. We just, oh. There are literally, as I'm saying this, I turn around and there are these 6 little heads of girls that are behind the rack. And then I had just pivoted and they all went, oh, and they all ducked down. And like, I think that just happened. And it was weird because I just remembered thinking, and then right after that, we had like a little party ourselves. And I remember saying to Lori, we're never going to get to do this again. This thing is about to explode. And we all thought it would, but there was a lot of evidence on our part in those early on days how it was going to explode. And we could see it when suddenly we would go places and it was just like, we couldn't get to the bathroom. Like legitimately could not get to the bathroom.
Because she got, you went to a book signing after, I went to a book signing before you did. I went to one, my brother lived in Texas and she had done 2 in Texas before she had ended up in New York. I don't know, was that in New Jersey or New York?
It was New Jersey. It was, yeah, it was over in Bridgewater, New Jersey at the time.
And so I had gone to Texas and had gone to 2 New Moon book signings, which incidentally, that's also where she handed me the host. So I read the host around the time that New Moon came out. That's how long we keep secrets.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just walking around taking photographs with an actual camera because we didn't have iPhones. I was taking photographs and I would ask people, do you mind if I take your picture? Because I run a website and we'd like to share photos of what fans are creating. Because you couldn't buy Twilight merchandise.
Yeah, they all had like homemade t-shirts and everything like that at that point. Yeah, for sure.
The number and what was so shocking, what led to this discussion about this thing is about to explode, was like literally our website, the lexicon had only been open for like 6 months, not hardly long at all. And the lexicon opened in March.
I would say it soft opened in like February, but like opened in March. Yeah, we used to do like March 1st is our anniversary, but like, yeah, that's legitimate.
So here we are, we've been out for like 6 months. And as I would say to people, I want to take your picture. I run a website. I'd like to put and they would say, oh my gosh, is this the lexicon? And I'd be like, yes. Are you Alfie? Yes. And then people would say, have you been to her website? Have you been to her website? So when she went to a book signing, like literally, that was like my first question. Have you been recognized? And she's like, no. I'm like, Laura, I'm telling you, people would recognize you. And then the one that like really threw me for a loop was I was at a Borders for Eclipse. So jump forward a year. I was at a Borders for Eclipse and I was just there that was my chance to get if you've seen my picture of me and Stephanie and we're holding Eclipse, that was at that Borders. I was just walking around again, looking at people's cute shirts. And now it had started to explode. And so cute shirts were everywhere. And I casually said something to somebody. Like I said, oh yeah, I really like that shirt over there. I can't remember who I was with. I was with, if she's on here, HTB Thomas. I think that's who I met. It was in Cincinnati. And I said, oh yeah, I really like that shirt over there. That was really cute. And I hear from like behind me, oh, that voice, that's Alfie from the lexicon. Like they didn't even see my face. They heard my voice and I turn around and they're like, it is Alfie from the lexicon. And I went,
I actually had that when I started working for Hypable. Like, I mean, which is also connected to being in the lexicon and meeting Andrew Sims. And there's that's a tale for another day.
Shirt over
but
there,
yeah, I was doing I don't even remember which podcast now for Hypable. And somebody was like, it took me a while to figure it out, but you're Pell from the Twilight lexicon. And I don't even remember which Hypable podcast it was that I was on, but yeah, this honking New York accent was identifiable. Shocker.
So our next fun question: fun or crazy fandom experiences, like with other fans that you either witnessed or that you were like, what the heck is this? At like fandom events that you're at, or some the most bizarre or crazy things that you ever saw a fan do. Of course, if it's something that you did, it might have been something you did. So I'm going to start with Sabby. How about you? Crazy thing that you've seen fans do.
The thing that always threw me was just the crying. Whenever anybody would be like, oh my God, I'm so excited. And then somebody would walk up and be like, hey, they just say hi. And then just like, oh my God, like, I love you so much. I'm like, it would just throw me. I'm like, oh my God. Like, are you okay? Like, is that like, for me, like crying is a big deal. So I'm like something's broke, a dam has broke, like somebody is not mentally well now, like things are happening. So I always felt like,
and it would happen for the most unusual people too. Like to a certain extent, like you expected it if it was like Rob or Kristen, but like, like you didn't like expect it if it was one of the actors who was in a much smaller role, and in particular if they were starting out your career. So like you figured it out totally if it was like Rob or Kristen, but you were often surprised if it was an actor who it was very much the beginning of their career.
Yeah.
Mel Ray, who did you cry over?
Nikki.
Yeah.
My brain short-circuited on the Eclipse black carpet.
Yep.
I word vomited and then I just started crying.
That's okay. That's okay. That one, and there was something else. Crud. There was one that was just, I couldn't believe it was happening. You might have to come back to me.
Somebody falling into a puddle at Mike Welsh's feet once, and he was just like, help! Like he was just, and he was very much, what I would call sort of the consummate working actor. Like he had been working since he was a teenager in a million bit parts, like just a very hardworking working actor, that knew how to hustle, was, very professional, everything. And I don't think he ever in 3 billion years expected that to happen. And he was just like, what do I do?
Yeah. Oh, I remember my thing. Okay, so it was I remember I was at one of the conventions. I think it was one of the ones that when I was on the East Coast. I remember that there was something that was going around that there was a lady that was really into Chasuke that was there. And
yes, I know exactly where
and they're like, okay, it's okay if she goes to some of the things, but we really have to keep an eye on her because she gets really handsy or really up in his business. And I remember at one time I knew all the places to stand because, you just learn that. I remember at one point he was walking through one of the hallways from like his Q&A to the like his photo ops or something like that. Yeah. And he stopped and we were talking and I just heard this voice in the background go, oh my God, it's Shantae! And this woman just comes barreling straight down the freaking hallway, just like the mental image that I get is like Cruella DeVille when she's driving her car and her eyes are all red and her hair is like, oh my God, like straight at him. And I just remember somebody just like, you never really had much security at those things, but just this big dude just stepped right in front of him, caught the woman, and then just kept walking. Like, I was like,
at a certain point they did used to have like a security guard who would get employed for like kind of like whoever it was needed for. But yeah.
Oh my God. I was just like, oh my God, this is gonna happen. Like she was literally going to collide with him, and this guy just went. Whoop.
I remember, I don't know if you remember this one or if you were even at this one. There was a convention in Boston, which holy bad logistics, Batman. The brunch in the morning was featuring at the time, and I still remember this. It was Kellen, it was Boo Boo Stewart, it was Bronson, and it was Kiowa. Mm-hmm. And actually Chasuke too, because I actually remember Chasuke for some other reason at this one. Mm-hmm. And I just remember going, okay, where's the breakfast at? Whatever. So like we got the actors in there early. And there was like a green room behind this breakfast room. Mm-hmm. But it was the shape of this hotel. It wasn't connected to anything else. It was a dead end. So we got them in there. Oh. They're all in there. They're in the room. The people who are supposed to be at the breakfast are in the room. The problem is there are 700 other humans outside that door, and we were supposed to walk in this gigantic U arc around the building. And I just like halfway through the breakfast, I'm like, how in all that's holy are we gonna get them out of here? And I'm like processing this in my brain. And I'm going, I don't think Gary and them have thought about this yet. And all of a sudden, Nils, who I got to be a pretty good friend of, Boo Boo Stewart's dad, comes over to me and he's like, I can see that you're considering what I'm considering. And I'm like, what would that be, Nils? He goes, how in the hell we're getting out of here? And I was like, yeah, that's first on my mind. And we're looking, and I was like, Nils, there's a door back there. And he goes, I was like, I'm pretty sure if we go dead across the parking lot and then open that other door, it's just a straight shot. And from there is the actual green room. We just have to make sure that somebody's standing at the green room door with a key, or we're just going to be locked out of the hallways. Like that will end badly. I said, I know, but like, I'm pretty sure I can go text somebody and get them to go get those doors open and they won't know what's going on. He's like, all right, here's the plan. He's going, when we're going to break up, we're going to fake him out. I'm going to go out with Boo Boo like 2 minutes before we got to get the rest of these guys out. He's like, and he looks at me, he goes, you have got to get Lutz and you've got to get him moving. he's like, he's going to talk. He goes, I don't know what you're going to do, but you need to move Lutz. And I'm going, why am I in charge of Kellen Lutz? Seriously? This, and I was just, and he literally turns around and says to me, swear to God, he remembers this. He goes, Bronson and Kiowa, leave him to the wolves. It's fine. Get Lutz out of there. And I was like, did you just say to leave Bronson and Kiowa to the wolves? And he goes, oh yeah, I forgot what franchise we're in. And it's hilarious. So we do this scenario. It works well. I was like, Kellen, we got one shot at this. This door, that door, go. And he's like, understood. He was like ready, because I think one of the fans there was just a little like, he was very into, oh yeah, I get where you're going. Book it across the parking lot, in, out, and I swear to God, we slammed that door just in time. And like Boo Boo and Nils were holding him off in the lobby, going, "Oh, I'm sure they're coming out the door any second. Oh, they must have gone out the back." Oh, it was crazy. And then they had some sort of photographer there that day from one of the, I don't even remember. Like it was just one of the paparazzi who had freelance stuff to a variety of, I don't know, Radar Online or all of those publications. And at one point I was walking Bronson over to the supermarket that was like next door. And I was referred to as the mystery woman with Bronson Peltier. And I'm like, yes, that's me. The mystery woman with Bronson Peltier. Trust me, there's nothing going on here. But that was like sort of like the weird and wacky, just, craziness of that. Yeah.
Amy, how about you? Any crazy fandom moments?
Oh, I mean, I was thinking about some of just the totally inappropriate signs at the premieres. And like behind where like the fan site people were at part 2, like somebody's holding up a sign like Stephanie Meyer's with us, we're all gathered around, there's a sign behind us that says something about like fur and balls. And I'm like, what? Some of the signs were just wrong.
I love those signs. They were great.
At Breaking Dawn 2, who had Nick and Edward? Who had Rob jumping? The stand-up.
Nikki and Becca had them.
Yeah,
Nikki and Becca.
Yeah, on a stick, jumping Rob. Yeah,
Jumping Rob.
Jumping Rob. They finally had to like trash Jumping Rob, but they had to for a long time. What was the other one? It was just, I mean, stories that like necessarily I didn't witness, but I remember it being like a big deal at the time. When they were filming, especially when Breaking Dawns were being filmed, like people were flying off, like people were for New Moon and Eclipse too. People were going off to, try and find people on set and stuff. But like it, for Breaking Dawn, people were like flying down to Louisiana and they were flying up to, Canada.
Oh, and like in Louisiana, you saw nothing practically. They were filming indoors for so long.
Yeah. But they were, trying to figure out where they were staying or whatever. And there was a story about, and like I've since learned like who it was that did this, but the story started online that like Peter and Kellen were so awful to a fan. Like any of people, like those two. And so apparently like what had happened was like, I guess they had come out, it was the pouring rain. They were like going to the movies or something, or like going somewhere. And this like fan like comes out of nowhere and like tries to stop them. Like, we're sorry, we have to go. Well, it turned into like, they were terrible to me. They were so horrible. They were so mean. And I'm like, Peter and Kellen being mean?
Yeah, it's not like either of them.
But like that turned into like a big thing, a big to do. And like, it was like, they're so horrible. This person started going off about them on Twitter. And it like became this thing that they were terrible to fans. I'm like, to one fan who was stalking them in where was that place that they were all staying at?
Baton Rouge in
no, in Canada.
The Yeah, I can't think of it. Right in Vancouver, right out. I can see the place. I can't think of the name of the hotel, but yes, I know exactly what you're talking about because they were split. They were initially at one hotel and then they were split between the
They were
two.
split. Mhm.
Was it
Yeah.
no? Was it? I'm gonna say Snohomish. I'm like, that's in Washington.
No, Squamish.
Squamish?
They weren't staying in Squamish. They would
Yeah.
they would drive them in and then pull them out again. But yeah,
Yeah. So I remember that one. Yeah, I don't know. Just feel like over the year, people saying inappropriate things. Like,
well, how many times at a fan convention did one of the guys get on set, and the second they got on set, you'd hear screams from the audience going, "Take it off!" I'm like, it's not Chippendales.
Yeah.
You know
Or
that was
boxers or briefs. They just start shouting that.
Boxers or briefs? That was always the first question. Really?
Who cares?
It's for things like that Laura and I had to pull questions to make sure that they wouldn't.
That's right.
They used to have us like sort them, and we were supposed to dump, ones that were like that. And then what would happen is they would end up going, "Oh, we're out of questions. Let's open the mic." And I'm like, "Gary, I can't do anything. You did an open mic. There is but nothing I can do about this. If one of your stars has a problem, I did the best I could,
Kara, do you have any crazy Twilight mom stories? Sure you do.
Ooh. Oh, I have lots of. Well, I have some. Not too many inappropriate Twilight mom stories. I have stories of Twilight moms calling me at work at my day job and saying, "Oh my God, did you see what Rob did?" And I'm like, I'm at work. Can I call you back later? Can I help you? It's like, do you mind? I was actually going to do two of my favorite actor stories because they were both one was from Twilight and one was from New Moon. Twilight, when we did the Twilight Live podcast from Borders in LA.
Oh, wow. Oh my God.
Like Jen was there. And Jen was there, Kimber Hickey, who was the hand model,
Right.
and the majority of the cast.
Yes, on that first one, that was crazy.
The very first one. And I had flown out to LA because I was with Becca and them. I was really just I was part of Twilight Moms at that point, but I was going, to be basically a PA for Becca because you could tell she was in over her head and I was like, you have to plan for ADA seating, you have to plan for lines, you have to plan. And we got there the day before and the Borders is like, "Oh yeah, so this is where we are." And it's like the size of my bathroom. And I'm like, "Oh, this is not where you're going to be."
Right.
And they're like, "Oh no, this is where we do most of our, this is where we do most of our author things." And I'm like, "But what about that big space over there?" And they're like, "Oh, no, that's usually like children's time." And I'm like, "I don't care. See that big round space? That's where we're going to go. We're going to like it over there. They'll be happy." And they're like, "Oh yeah, so what do you think? 5-10 people might show up beforehand?" I think it'll be more.
Most of their store managers for a while had not gotten the message. Yeah.
No, they had not. And what was horrendous was, and I love Summit was like just sending these notes saying, "Hey, okay, so originally they were going to have, I think it was Ashley and Peter or Ashley and Jackson. It was two people that, people were going to be excited about, but didn't really know.
And then they rolled out everyone.
And then freaking everybody but the Trinity shows up that morning. And I get in there at 8:00 in the morning and I'm like, "I need coffee." And the store manager, the older woman comes up to me and she's like, "Who are these people? They get on the street all night. They can't do this. We're getting in trouble. The cops are coming." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Because I had come in through the underground parking lot and we look out and she's like, "Look." And we look out over the window and there's a line around the block. And this was not a good neighborhood in LA at all.
Wow.
And the girls had stayed out, like girls and moms and everybody had stayed out all night because of this podcast that we had talked to. Geez, like Facebook wasn't even, what did we even put it out on? It was like on Friends.
It was our websites. I mean, it was the infancy. I mean,
it was the infancy of everything.
Yeah, because at that point we were on the cusp of when Facebook, you still needed a college.edu address to have it. They hadn't really converted it over yet. It was the infancy of Twitter. I don't think most of us really got on board with Twitter until they started filming New Moon. Like I know the lexicon Twitter when it like 2009 was sort of, I feel like
yes, because I remember being in Vancouver with you guys and Kimmy talking about how are we going to manage all of these platforms.
Yeah, the messaging at that point was very much on our websites and forums and trying to convince people this was huge. Like it just sounds so silly to say this now, but
man, they had no idea
back then. Like you'd be stunned at how many publicists and things that I was equating them with online metrics because they were such TV and radio people. They were such print media people. They could not, and it sounds absurd to be having this conversation now, but they had no concept of an online reach. I know that
Yeah.
sounds ridiculous, but that's the truth of it.
Yeah, they had no concept of what an online fandom would be or how huge we were all going to be. It was
Or that it
hysterical.
wasn't
But during that,
compartmentalized. Like they were still very much thinking of, okay, we're doing this here for the fans in California. We're doing
Right.
this here for the fans in Texas. It's like, have you heard of email? We talk to each other. Like
Sure.
there's not an actual letter running back and forth, or
Yeah.
or the people in Indonesia are watching. There's this new thing called YouTube. Perhaps you've heard of it. Like it was, you know, and it was just they were so behind what was
going on. They had no idea.
Us was amazing.
I mean, it was,
It was-
so the priorities at the time. I mean, I was doing PR then in the auto industry, and like,
Mhm.
you know, I think about just how quickly things change and our focuses change. Like I always say, like I remember having conversations. I was working in the gaming industry in Vegas in like 2006, 2007, and having conversations with my boss. It's like, we do not have time for bloggers. We need to focus on like the real media,
The real press.
and and then kind of getting into next job, which was the first automaker I was with, and like going out. Do you remember what were those cameras that were like the video
flip cameras, the
Which
flips.
one? Flip
Flip
cameras.
cameras,
Those were
yep.
awesome.
They
Going
were
and doing
amazing.
flip
with
things.
I
the-
loved that camera.
doing
Boom.
that at the vehicle
Done.
walk, and then
It
like
was awesome.
doing like live blogging, what we were calling it then, during stuff, and then getting to the next company and going, okay, like I now have a presence, like I'm representing this group on Twitter, and just kind of like the change in it, and then having to really like think about the auto blogs and just really media has changed so much.
I remember having to educate this just sounds, again, it sounds completely ridiculous now, but having to educate the people at Barnes and Noble and Borders as to what a hashtag was. And that we wanted to have a Twitter party and we would use the hashtag to do it. And that we would also occasionally mention the Borders account, but the hashtag was like Borders Twilight, or BNN, it was Barnes and Noble, BNN Twilight or BNN New Moon. And we were trying to impress on them. Back then, you had 140 characters.
Characters,
The
and that's
hashtag shorter. It was all kinds of stuff like that. So it was
Isn't it-
really rough.
Isn't it ironic though that like the media, it took them forever to catch up with that, when on the flip side of that, I feel like Summit Entertainment was like on the brink. I mean, they were on, because they were the first ones putting out hashtags. All of those, if you remember those reaction videos, it was all posted on YouTube. I mean, they were on top of it. And I don't know if it's because they were like more teenage or like 20 something based that they were on top of the social media, but like the rest of the media outlets were not.
No, I know where I can tell you where they got it from at the time. And again, this sounds stupid. So much later, Ramsey Zedin, who at the time was
Ramsey.
a relatively new hire for them. He was not on for the original Twilight. He came on right after. He was a brandy new grad out of, I think it was University of Texas at Austin. So he understood all this stuff that the rest of the suits were like, what? Like he was the one, and he used to come to us and he's like, these are the metrics I need. What can you give me? And I remember like handing him data for his slide decks that he would be walking into meetings with, or he's like, where can you give me hard numbers, and what do these numbers mean? And I was like giving him different, like it was very much, I think he really was pounding the way. And then there were fortunately certain key people like Jack Pan, who was at the studio at the time, and Nancy, why is Nancy's name escaping me right now, who keyed into that, versus there were other people who I would call the typical suits that could not find their way out of a rip paper bag if they tried. It was very much that. It was more people who were younger and visionary, I feel like.
Or was it, am I muted? Laura, was it Nancy Fitzpatrick?
Yes, it was Nancy Kirkpatrick. That's why the name escaped me. But yeah, it was Nancy Kirkpatrick, it was Jack Pan, and it was Ramsey Zedin. And then also Ryan Fons was a freelancer they were working with. And they all got it and figured it out, but there were a lot of other people who just were not figuring it out in that space, but they did, and they made it work. And I think after the first movie exploded and they saw how much it was increasing with the second movie, they finally were like, maybe we should let these guys do what they want. They're like, maybe they have
It's an
something
online
here.
thing.
Yeah,
It's an online thing. It might catch on.
this is a thing, actually.
But
So
I would say, we took a side turn onto social media. I'm gonna ask Mel if she has any of her funny like fans acting badly or crazy fandom moments for you.
So probably the craziest one also has to do with Hot Topic.
Hot
The very first one with Chicago.
oh my God, yes, I know where you're going.
There's multiple things that happened with that one. So the first thing was me, little me, following Twitter, following all the stuff that happened with, what was it, San Diego or San Francisco, the one that got canceled.
San Francisco, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I could be wrong, but yeah.
And so I had followed that. I ran into these other girls inside the mall the night before because Hot Topic didn't know, security didn't know, are we allowed to line up outside? Security ended up making a deal with essentially the city of Orland Park. And they were like, it's fine as long as they behave themselves, not a big deal. So 5 or 6 of us ended up being line holders of don't make this go down in history as like worse than that event.
Oh my God, yes, right? Oh.
And we managed to get everybody to just stay in line. If you had to get out to go to the bathroom, you had to tell the people behind you, you had to tell the people in front of you. You had to tell people if you were expecting anybody to show up and they could only get into the line with you if they were showing up in the next 10 minutes. Because we knew exactly how many tickets they had,
right,
and you had to tell the people behind you too, like, well, I'm number whatever, so that when it got to that cap of, I think it was like 500 total.
Right, there's no more tickets left, yeah.
That's it, it's done. Rob's manager, and I think this might be why the regional manager remembers me, they came out that night. They didn't even wait till the next morning because security called them and said, we've got a really long line outside already, and it's only 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
They came in early. They let us into the mall early. Hot Topic turned that store around so fast so that they could, because you also had to purchase a t-shirt to get the ticket.
Right, right.
So they turned that store around so fast. I remember going back down because after you bought your ticket, then you had to leave the mall because it was still before mall walker hours. I left, I sat in my car for a little bit, and then mall security is like, you can't stay in the parking lot, whatever. I left, I come back and I find out that there had been news crews there. They had missed basically all of us that had been in line. They did not miss all the people that had been waiting that thought they were still going to get a wristband.
Oh.
And a mom with her kids got interviewed. She was holding hot coffee and she threw it at the news person because she was so angry that she didn't get a ticket, and she dragged her kids 4 hours driving.
Wow.
So yeah, so she threw coffee at the news anchor. And then
poor dude.
So,
and yeah, I almost passed out at that event because the news got in my face and I got overheated. And then when they did the Q&A, somebody decided to throw panties at Rob.
Wow.
just did a quick search on the lexicon. Was this was the Hot Topic tour for New Moon, right?
No, for Twilight.
Oh, for Twilight. Wow. Oh, no, yeah. But it was happening. Yeah, okay. Just as New Moon would have been filming next. So, okay, yeah.
This is when nobody understood what we were really getting into.
No, and not even like the regional manager. He was just like, how did you guys even manage that line? Like, there's that many people. And I was like, we don't know.
We just did.
We just did. We're like these little 20 somethings and somehow managed a bunch of other adults.
And they listened to you, which was good.
We were shocked, to say the least.
Oh, look, I've actually found an article where Hot Topic issues an apology.
Oh,
Yeah.
Hot Topic, we had no idea.
We understand your frustration and anger, but from our standpoint, we had no choice but to change the rules or whatever. Yeah, I'm like allowing a mob to develop was dangerous and frankly not an option. Yeah, actually reading it.
It's
How
yeah.
many
This
jobs
would be a
have
fascinating
people?
discussion for another day. Sort of like the people running events catching up with, you know, I think public perception of this was so organized and everybody knew all of this or all that. I think that would be a really fun reveal, like talk we could do sometime about how people thought this, and this was so organized and people know all this stuff. Oh no, we assure you, there are multiple occasions where
Orders events in New York City, you and me vamping on stage for 10 minutes.
oh my God,
my
it was
lord.
the Lauren Kara show. Yeah, it was.
Where is Eddie Gathegi? Where the hell is Eddie Gathegi?
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, there were multitudinous. Oh my gosh, so many things.
Right.
Fan camps.
Oh, the fan camp.
Yeah, I was gonna say the first fan camp I went to was Eclipse premiere, and it was still a nightmare because they had just changed venues.
At least you had changed venues. At least you were safe. You know, I mean, it wasn't.
Not really.
Yeah,
Not
no.
really.
Okay, you're right.
Sort of.
Was it
downtown?
New Moon? Was it New Moon or Eclipse where in the middle of the night everyone got to like stand up and hold hands and go across the street and move camp elsewhere? I
That
think
might have
that
been
was
New Moon when they were tightening the
That
line.
was New Moon.
yes.
It was when I tell you it was roaming through Westwood. I don't even know how to describe
Yeah.
it.
Oh
It was
God.
like
It was
I
so bad.
remember-
I'm like, these girls are gonna get mugged. They're gonna, and first of all, who, I mean, because Laura and I grew up in a city where one would never think of sleeping on the street. Are you insane? Yeah, no, just no.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
these
I
kids
do.
are
I
out
remember
there like,
asking
oh, we're camping. I'm
Mara
like,
frequently and
we're
going,
getting
my New
mugged.
York Spidey sensors are doing this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like-
yeah.
Well, and because of that, then because people didn't line up like that for Comic-Con,
Mm-mm.
it started a thing with
It was sporadic. It was like there were lines for Comic-Con, but it was usually at that point for the gigantic, what you would call the big tentpole movies. Like it was like the Marvel universe wasn't there yet, but like for that kind of movie, there was a line on one day.
well, yeah,
Like,
but
it was
and
like
they would start lining up at the beginning of the day because
Right.
I remember
Because they
being
weren't allowed. They weren't allowed to line up the night before, and they would leave. Twilight fans don't leave.
I would be in line. I was in line.
Well, back then actually you could line up ahead of time, but maybe only 100 people would do it, and then people would
Oh,
just
so you
go
get
in
your
the
wristband.
morning.
Hmm.
But when you read the rules, and it was easy enough to read the rules, and I know we all put it out on our sites, is it's first come, first serve. If you get into that room, once you're in, you don't have to get your butt up out of the chair. And I know like every single site op said, Twilight is, I don't know, the third film up or something that day. If I were you, I would get in that room at the first thing and I wouldn't leave. And that's where chaos ensued.
Here's the thing. I think it really speaks to the power of women in that Comic-Con, in being very nerd culture centric and male culture centric,
Very much at the time.
I've never had a franchise that was very female centric. And so we were all lined up for New Moon and people were passing us going like, what are you in line for? What are you in line for? And we started,
We read the directions and had a plan.
Man.
no, we started saying, Tron, we're in line for Tron. All these girls are here for Tron. And so and then after that, because then I think once all of these, all the females found out that Comic-Con was amazing, They just kept coming back. We kept going back, not just for Twilight, but for everything. And it exploded.
But we ruined it. Haven't you heard?
I
Yeah.
know, right?
Yeah, we
And that's what's so ridiculous because like I know Twilight fans who got into every other fandom because of Comic-Con. Thank you very much. You made bank off of your other franchises.
Right.
Because Twilight fans, shocker, also liked Game of Thrones, also liked Once Upon a Time, also liked the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They like Star Wars, like shocker. This is, I think fandom's finally come around that it's not the old boys club anymore. I mean, it's getting there. But that was the thing. It's like, yeah, shocker, we're still here and we like other things
And
too.
we like other things and we buy stuff.
And we buy stuff.
stuff.
Thank you very much.
And we hold the purse strings of all those houses where our works come from.
Let me tell my funny story, my bad fan. And this is not a great.
Pause you before you do it. I just want to say goodbye because I gotta go. But now Laura can tell her story.
I'm gonna listen to your story and then I have to run. So go, story go.
My bad fan story comes from Mike Newton again. Who was it that said somebody fainted in front of him? Was that Laura was saying that?
Yeah, and fell in a puddle. Yeah.
So at the convention,
Mike Welch.
Mike Welch, sorry. I know.
Mike Newton.
But he played Mike Newton. Okay, Mike Welch. He had done his Q&A and he was charming and he's great and he's a fan favorite and all that kind of thing. So he's doing his signing and they had asked me to sit and make sure that when people came up that they had their name on a sticky tag so that when you pass it to Mike, he knows what to sign, right? And so I'm sitting next to him as he's signing all of these autographs and this girl comes up and she literally says to him, so I wasn't going to get your autograph or your picture or anything because I think you suck in this movie. You're like terrible in this movie, but because you're so charming in person, I did not expect you to be like a good person because you're just awful in this movie, but you're great on stage. So I decided to get your autograph. And he's like mid autograph and he's like,
nope.
Thank you. And he signs it and gives it to her and walks away and he turns to me and he's like, what am I supposed to say? Like total backhanded compliment. He's like, so he said, my instinct was to tell her I didn't want to sign her paper, but okay, next. I was floored. I was like, wow, the guts that it takes to tell off a celebrity that you're getting the autograph from that you sucked in this movie. And I said to him, from my standpoint, you didn't suck in the movie, okay?
I thought you were nice. He liked you. All right, and with that fabulous thought, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, everyone. I gotta run. Bye.
Bye. Jersey girls all leaving.
No.
It's a Jersey thing.
You're an hour ahead of me. I mean, so it's almost 9:00 my time, so it's almost 10:00 theirs.
Yeah.
Lori, I was gonna say the funny thing is that the next year after New Moon was my first Comic-Con, and I was totally in line seriously for Tron Legacy. The panel was like the second panel, and I was super excited about that film. So I totally did line up for Tron.
And they were was Tron, did they move it to after?
It was coming out, it came out, actually, it's funny because my memories are coming up. I saw it, I guess 10 years ago today.
Within the panel discussion, because somebody was ticked off.
People were mad because I think Johnny Depp show up for Pirates and people didn't get in there for it because
he was there for Alice.
Oh.
Yeah. That was the year that he sat in a wheelchair with all the blankets on him and was like, if anybody gave him money or something like that because they thought he was homeless, he would give them a ticket for the private tea party with him and Tim Burton.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So no,
why not me?
What I'm thinking of is that on the actual panel, some director, maybe it was for Avatar.
So Tron did too. Tron did it the year of New Moon, but then were back again with new footage because it was coming out that December is when I saw it the next year.
Okay, so I can't remember. I'm getting my Comic-Cons mixed up.
Yeah, because
Some director,
Avatar came out in 09, so.
because some director was
It's a new moon.
off that all of the people in the audience were going to be Twilight fans because their panel was just before, it was like whatever their panel was. I think it was Avatar. I do. I think it was James Cameron announcing Avatar, and then it was some like goofy what's the horror film where everybody gets their head chopped off, because we watched their heads get chopped off in 3D or something like that. And then it was the Twilight panel. And he was like ticked off that the room was going to be filled with girls, and they like moved his panel after Twilight because he said then all these girls can get out. It was awful, and it made me like never want to like James Cameron.
Yeah.
I think it was James Cameron.
You sure that's what it was?
Huh? Am I
Are you
not
sure
thinking this
it was?
correct?
I've never heard anything about. I've never heard that story before, including from people I know that were there. I know you were there, but
I'm sure. Oh, maybe I heard it at a party afterwards and someone said, don't ever tell.
Allegedly. We don't want to be canceled.
Been
No
lots
cancel
of those,
culture.
Don't ever say this to anyone, but, and now it's been, I've slept since then.
It's
Oh,
11 years later. It's fine.
It's fine. And the second Avatar movie hasn't even come out yet, so it's fine.
the last thing we were going to talk about was like anything holiday related. And you had
Laura
Like-
had a story.
story of this good holiday thing. Anybody else have anything holiday related?
Oh, were you talking too about like things that like when you gave something to somebody?
Something to somebody.
I mean, I know like I did, if you've seen, I'm sure you have, because I've had it on my background stuff, the picture that I have of the Carlisle ring on the beach, which is like my first trip out to the Olympic Peninsula. I have one on my wall, but I had a second one that I had signed by Peter that I put in, it was like a fundraising auction at an event before the Breaking Dawn Part 2 premiere, I think, like the night before fan camp started. And the girl who won it was just so excited. Like she was like, oh my God, can I get a picture with you with the, the picture? Like, I mean, there's definitely been like the other night. I mean, yeah, it's like Tuesday night. We did some giveaways at our Twilight Tuesday holiday party, and Lisa from Fandom Pins, I'm like Fandom Pins. She actually won we had a signed book plate copy of Midnight Sun, and she was so excited and so happy. Like, and she's somebody that's, been great and been a supporter of us. And, she was the random winner. We did not plan that. So, so yeah, I mean, there's definitely been moments of people winning stuff. There's also been moments of like, people not being gracious in winning either. So can I have something else?
Yeah. Look, I wanted to win, but I don't want this autograph. I want this one.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even like this person. Like,
I remember I did a 1 year at the festival in Forks. I had was doing a drawing. I had a bunch of prizes. I specifically had tickets connected to a prize. So you pulled the ticket, it had the name of it on there. This is what you want. And like this girl was like, I already have this. Can I get something else? I was like, I'm sorry, you can't. And she as she walked away, I heard her like under her breath be like, bitch, like. I'm like, you just freaking won something at a Twilight event. Like,
Okay, so when we would do our movie events, and I would reach out to any company that had Twilight products if they would donate something. And typically like the big ones like NECA and Hot Topic and things like that would send me boxes of stuff. And Creation Entertainment, we collect autographs. And always Summit would gift me with something that either Rob, Kristen, or Taylor had signed. So and then we'd advertise that we have all of these things to give away. And first of all, I would get, so every single person that came in that would buy a ticket to our event would get something. Okay. And I think the most expensive ticket, because we would rent the movie theater. So consider that I had to pay to rent the movie theater, and then we would collect all of these things. And some of these things, like I would buy books and get them signed. But so some of it was like we had to spend money then to sell. It wasn't like to make money or anything like that. I think the most expensive ticket that I sold to see the film, like the day before it opened, was like $15. Okay, which is a good price to see a freaking film, let alone to see a film early, let alone to see a film and get a present of any kind. And always at every single one of those things, somebody would come down and they would see that the shirts were all smalls. And they'd be like, did you have anything extra large? Where's extra? Be like, no, that's what they gave us. So don't pick a shirt, pick something else. All of the autographs are gone. These are crappy autographs. I don't want this. And I'd be like, are you kidding me? Like every year I would say because we would sell like 500 tickets, 499 people would be, oh my gosh, this is wonderful. And then there'd be one person that'd be like,
Yeah, I would say the same. Well, I've seen similar reactions to things in the festival in Forks too. And I was thinking about one of my stories of like interactions with bad fans, and the year that Jackson was there. Abby's like, oh, so
yeah,
like that year they've changed it since then, but like to actually get your autograph and photo with the talent was like a separate ticket, and I refused. I was like, no, I had bought my ticket already. You didn't tell me it was going to be additional price. I'm like, I've met all these people before. We were at one of the nighttime events, and Jackson came in, and he came like over to me, and I've seen him with like another friend or two, and started talking with us. And it was like great, like because he had recognized me and was like, how are you doing? How are things at? And this girl who is known for being very obnoxious at these events, and Mel probably even knows who I'm talking about now. Comes up and inserts herself right in there, and just is like this. And I know she had already had been up in his grill a couple times already, and like it suddenly went from like we were having this nice warm conversation to he just shut down and walked away, like was wanted out of. And this girl is notorious for doing this, not only with like the talent at every single one of the events, but she has it with the Olympic Coven too. And it's just like, can you not come? Which sounds awful, but I mean, I know like they've even had to talk to her at points because it is a problem every single year.
Yeah.
And you're ruining other fans' experiences. Like, so I'm there as paying, I'm paying for my ticket too. I'm not there as like a guest. I've never been there as a guest. And, to have that be my experience sucks.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
one person, all it takes is one person to ruin it for everybody.
It does. I mean, that's the one thing, like my upside is things that I've been able to do, more or less the things that I've been able to do for the Olympic Coven, which somehow in turn end up being bad to other people. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't know what you want me to do. I've gotten, for anybody that knows the Olympic Coven, Katie, who is the legacy member now, Victoria, she always brought her fur with. She was always too scared to ask to get it signed. So at each event, it got handed over to me because I was not afraid. I'm like, nope, I'll go ask. That's fine. So I remember the year Jackson was there, they were like, there was kind of conflicting things too with how they ran the Olympic Coven meeting him, because they got to do like a little separate meet and greet. And there was two conflicting, like, you can do this. No, you can't do this. So it was like, so what can they do? So I got Jackson to sign the fur during the night event, which obviously you're not supposed to do, but he's like, no, like, we got this covered, like, go, that's fine. Same thing happened with Chasquet. We got him to sign it on the bus, which was kind of strange, but got him to sign it on the bus. And then just going through different lines, getting that fur signed. It's so much more special for someone who, isn't as willing to just go up and be like, I know I'm working, but am I allowed, can I get this done? So that's special. And then I've also been very fortunate in, I mean, granted, I'm still paying off auction wins, but I've been very fortunate that I was able to gift some of the Olympic Coven members costumes from the auctions.
Yeah. I'm like, now I'm in this mindset. I would say one of the other like bad behavior things, since it was one of the topics tonight, fans not knowing boundaries. And I think social media, especially, like, I've seen that, I would say I see with the Twilight actors, not as much because they weren't except like some were pretty active on Twitter. Peter was of course really active on Twitter, but I see that now with like Broadway performers where they're so like everybody in the chorus is like on social media, and so the stage doors have gotten insane because these people think that they're friends with them because they see their lives on social media. And I think that's part of it. And unfortunately it means people cross boundaries all the time and are inappropriate in their relationships and their interactions, and thinking that they're friends with these people who really are a performer or an actor. And it's not that they don't appreciate people caring about them, but people often cross the line.
See, that's just an outreach, or that's just an offshoot of how we communicate today.
Mm-hmm.
I teach communication, I teach speech and communication, and the things that people will say to each other on social media now is so far gone from what is appropriate. Mm-hmm. That like, and I mean, I say this I've said this to my kids and I say it to my students all the time. If you wouldn't say that face to face to someone, please don't put it on social media. And yet, so it's like between the negativity that you get on social media and how you feel like everything about someone just because they're on social media. There's those two aspects that has really changed the way we communicate with people and can react to people.
Yeah. But I was like, even just, people are always like, oh my God, like you're friends with Peter. I'm like, I'm not friends with Peter.
Yeah.
I mean, that, any of them, like I am so grateful for the things that have happened and the relationships that have happened. And when Peter has responded positively to me, but it was like, I never sought that out. Like, I want to be Peter's person. It was a matter of, I love this character and appreciate that and appreciate how he's playing the role and happen to get to interact with him. And I had this username and, it became what it was. And the same with like Elizabeth Reeser. I mean, how many like Esme fans are there? But, similar thing where it's like, I had this opportunity to interact with her and had this moment where then she never forgot me. But I always like respected them too. And there were moments that was like, okay, hey, Peter, like, he's like, he's got to go, or would like kind of give me the, hey, and I never was like chasing after him, but I saw other people chase. So yeah. And I mean, the same with like, I kind of feel at times I see stuff with the Olympic Coven now, like they're the new cast, and it concerns me because they're all human beings who happen to play certain roles, and even like they have less protections than the actors have, and like probably thick skin because the actors have to have that. So it's like people need to remember. I mean, I get stuff at times where I've gotten harassed and bullied online and messages, and had back in the day with like got Twitter bombed, bully attacked, like where multiple accounts were coming at me, like cursing at me, calling me a horrible person. I mean, even in recent months, I've had things where like people like attacked me and then like attacked Peter in the same tweets or the same message as me. Like, and at this point it's like, well, whatever. I'm 41 years old. Fuck you. Like, I don't have time for this.
Speaking of gifts, Jessie says, thank you for the scarf from the other night.
Oh, you're welcome. She's getting with her nights too.
And somebody wanted to know LaDonna wanted to know where I did the movie events. I live in just south of Nashville. And so we did the movie events in Nashville. And then at one movie event, Tinsel Corey actually came here. Like they were sending actors to the thing, and Tinsel Corey shows up, and she was almost at every single convention, so she knew who I was, and she saw me, and she pulled me up and started doing things with me, and I said to her, you should do things with fans. I get to do this with you all the time. Do things with them because they don't, but I think she just felt more comfortable, and about bad behavior. Some of the most uncomfortable things we ever had to deal with were, me personally, were with Tinsel Corey and Julia Jones and male fans.
Mm. Yeah,
there was a stalker. There was like this guy.
Yeah.
Anytime Julia Jones was at a convention, he was there, and like Daniel Cudmore started protecting her because that creepy guy is still here. Yeah. And he's gonna go after Daniel Cudmore. Come on.
That's Daniel Cudmore.
No, I remember that. I remember that because I did a couple of meet and greets with her at some of the conventions, but I remember it was like the last convention that we did in Burbank. It was her, Tinsel, and I think Boo Boo was in it as well. Mm-hmm. And I remember Gary coming in and being like, okay, so here are the ground rules for this. You're not allowed to do this. You're not allowed to do this. Like, don't get up out of your seat. No touching, no anything. And I was like, it was weird because I had done so many of them before.
Because that
yeah. And so I was like, okay. And so, because I remember that. And when we were in it, I asked Tinsel, I was like, because I leaned over to just talk to her, and I was like, wait, am I like getting too close? Am I like breaking the rules? She goes, oh no, we had to set those ground rules. She's like, this Julia's here because of some incidents that have happened. She's like, and to make sure that she's feeling comfortable. I was like, I just like felt so bad. I was like, this is terrible. Like, and people ruin it. People ruin it for everybody.
What actors, what celebrities deal with in general. If, and I mean, not to, I don't mean to say that like Julia Jones is a nobody, but think of how like she's not Julia Roberts, so what
she's not Kristen Stewart in that, even in that.
So the, just what they have to deal with, that they're like what somebody said it in the comments. Was it Jesse again? That said, yeah, they're people too, and we got to respect it. I didn't mean for it to take a serious turn. I meant for this to be of silliness.
Look, I've been a butt guard, so it's all good.
For who?
No, it was for Vampire Diaries, but then they kind of transferred that over into my Twilight events.
A butt guard.
That's
walk behind them, slap hands.
What butt were you protecting?
Steve McQueen.
Oh.
Young Steve McQueen.
Right.
Just Steve McQueen.
I mean, I joked about grabbing Kellen's butt one time, but I didn't actually do it. Like, I was like, oh, no, we're not going to actually do something like that. I mean, come on.
Well, I was so sorry about how I accidentally, but kind of not, well, did, like, tried to fix Lee Pace's hair, so...
Oh my gosh. So here's like a small world. So LaDonna in the chat just says that she missed my events. She went to Cool Springs, which is the mall 15 minutes from my house. Cool Springs to see the midnight sun, to see the midnight showings. But wasn't able to get into my events. And who is this? Wait, somebody else said, Cammie said that she was at my Breaking Dawn Part 1 event.
Cammie's our buddy. We love Cammie.
And B said that the same person that Amy was talking about harassing people harassed her.
It's incredibly likely.
Yeah, I mean,
feel free to message me later on Instagram. I can tell you.
Before, like, I love Twilight fans. Like, I absolutely love them. Some of the best people have ever met. I look at like the four of you and who we had on before. Like, I adore you. I met so many great people, but there have also been those moments of like,
I had my,
and you're gonna get that in any fandom.
Oh yeah.
I I
Well,
had
I'm
my
a Star Wars fan, and
Yeah.
Star Wars fanboys are especially toxic right now. And so, I mean, and whole Star Wars fanboys can be really toxic. So, I mean, you're in any fandom, somebody's gonna. And I'm a Sherlock fan, and whoa, man, the Don Walker versus the Sherlollies, woo, you know. You're gonna get that kind of thing at any fandom.
yeah.
Well, we do have a special breed too of our own
Yeah.
that have been. Yeah, there's some people in this fandom that I know I will see at other things, but if I never saw them again, I'd be totally fine with that.
Right? I know I had like the absolute worst fan interaction. And then like 2 seconds later, well, maybe like 2 minutes later, like the best one right after it too. So like you come across it and it's just, it's like, it breaks your heart too.
So let's turn it around then. Before,
Okay.
you know, because as we're getting close to some of this stuff, what is your favorite fan thing that you ever witnessed, or that like somebody just being overjoyed, or some like breakdown of tears, or some great fan moment that you witnessed or that you were part of that was just unbelievable and just wonderful and something positive? You gotta think for a minute. Anything?
Yeah. I got mine.
Okay, go ahead.
So one of the best things that I saw was the first fan camp I went to. I kind of had a small group with one other girl, and she was a total fan of Jackson. She loved him. She had been a fan of his even before this stuff, and she never had an interaction with him. So when the day that they all kind of came down the line, Jackson was there, and she just started freaking out. She's like, oh my God, I can't, like, she's like, I want a picture with him, but I don't know how to ask. She's like, I don't know if I can do this. I was like, you can totally do this. It's not a big deal. She's like, I can't do it. So me being me, when he came over, I was like, so I barely got anything with him myself. And I was like, so Jackson, I was like, this is my friend. I was like, she is an absolute fan of yours. Would you be willing to take a picture for her? That type of stuff. And he goes, oh yeah, totally. And so they took this really cute picture that she has to this day. And like, he stood there for a good 30 seconds just talking to her too. So like, and she said, oh yeah, I'm a fan of this and all of this other stuff. And like, he stood there and signed a couple of things for her too. And that was kind of one of the cool moments for me, because I was like, you know what? Because I had seen him once or twice already. So I was like, let's give her this whole moment, and just how excited she was after that. Because it was somebody who she wouldn't have asked for anything else. She just would have been like, okay, picture, and then kind of gone on. But it was really cool for her to see kind of her nice little, to have her little memory moment there too.
Mel, Amy, you have a good story?
I mean, I've got one about myself.
No, do it.
That's what. I mean, I can tell other stuff too, but so not about, well, sort of about me, but not about me. Tinsel actually got in contact with me at one of the premieres to run her line when she came and surprised the fans. Because I brought a ton of permanent markers, because it's just a thing. You just bring a ton of permanent markers. So that was kind of fun, because she was like, Twitter DMing with me and like, where are you at? Where should we set up? What should we do? And just seeing all of the fans that did come through and were able to meet her when she just surprised everybody at fan camp, that was kind of amazing. Because I never expected to like be a bodyguard at premiere night. Like, who am I? As far as something I thought that was really cool that happened to me, one of my friends, who was on our Twilight Tuesday call the other night, Karina, she went to Nikki Reed's initial jewelry launch when it wasn't Bayou, when she was still doing her other thing for like Nordstrom, I think it was. And I have a tattoo that's lyrics from one of her and Paul's songs just on the back of my arm. And It says life, please hold my hand, but it's in Nikki's writing on top of it because we pulled it from my guitar. And Karina decided to ask Nikki to make a video because I convinced her to go to this jewelry thing because she's like, oh, I don't know if anybody's going to go with me, but I want to go. I was like, do it, just do it. So she ended up sending me a video with Nikki saying hi and thanking me for getting the tattoo, and just, it was really cute. So then I got to return that video to another friend, Katie, in Texas, and because she went to her thing in Texas. So
Amy?
Jessica Slavic, no, I expect a big hug the next time I see you, not not to walk away. You're definitely not one of those. It's like, it's funny because I have like so many moments that I just go, oh my God, that really happened. Like, and I'm trying, and I know there were moments of me like introducing people to Peter or to other people. And I'm like, they're kind of mush in my head. I mean, for me, like I think one of the more recent things that just kind of made me happy and smile was when Peter was in St. Helens last year, and Shannon Dameron, who works at Forks Community Hospital, was rooming with or staying with her and Lizzie Andros, who's the head of the executive director of the Forks Chamber of Commerce and runs the festival. And to see like Shannon, who works at Forks Community Hospital, meet Peter, like that was really cool. And like I took the picture of them together, and she was so excited. Like she gave him a mug and like, all that. And then she's like, you need to be in the picture with me and Lizzie. So we got to pick like one of the professional pictures. And that is now like in Carlisle's office. So I'm in Carlisle's office at Parks Community Hospital, which is like, I'm in the photo in there in the hospital. I'm like, wow, like how things have come around. But I mean, that was pretty amazing. I said I have like so many like my own stories because I said, as much as I did the fan site stuff, like I also did the fan stuff. I didn't always just like, I wasn't always the person doing like the coverage. So I was out camping, I was in line, I was paying for tickets, like I was doing all of that. And so I will say there were times where like I kind of, Lori, we're gossiping now, but like I would say I got like a little bit of from like some of the other fan site folks for like actually like taking advantage of what I waited for. So like
Paid for it.
I was like camping out for the Breaking Dawn Part 2 premiere, and like when all the actors came out, and we were kind of all in different areas, and so like I was up in the one area where it was just like Peter and Jackson and the Denali sisters, and then we kind of went down to the lower level where like a bunch of the other nomads were, and Eric Odom stopped and was like chatting with me, and I'm like, I've been camping out, I've slept in a little parking garage for a couple days. Yeah. And I remember like one of the other fan site people like coming up and being like, he needs to go like do stuff. Like you shouldn't be monopolizing his time. And I'm like, I fucking slept on the street for 3 days. You have been not here. So yeah, like there was, moments like that where there's sort of like, and what was great though was that there was also the fans who realized that I was also the one that was like, I was there with them. And there was sort of that camaraderie among that too, where I kind of like, people knew I was like the one who wrote the camp out guide because I camped out. So, yeah. There was that piece of it too, but yeah.
I don't think my favorite so you all picked when somebody met a celebrity. Honestly, my favorite, like I'm going to sit back and observe the fandom, was sitting in I had already seen Breaking Dawn Part 2. Mm-hmm. And sitting in the movie theater with an entire movie theater full of people that hadn't seen it, and just get to sit back and watch.
Yeah. Well, you remember
crying. What's happening? That's one of my favorite things that I've ever done, was sit there and watch and everybody go, ha, you all just lost your mind. And actually the second time, because I did it twice, because I saw Breaking Dawn Part 2 out in, I saw it like at a screening first, and then I took a friend with me to another screening, and then I had my fan event. Mm-hmm. So I I got to like witness people losing their ever loving mind twice. That was wonderful. Trying to think if there's another, like a specific giveaway that.
Well, I was thinking of another when Stephanie was in Forks last time. So what was it for the 10th anniversary? And I kind of just got wrangled into like being the person to write people's names on the Post-its. And so I did that for several hours. And let me tell you, the excitement of fans like waiting in line to meet Stephanie and interacting with them. And some knew who I was and others didn't. And just like all these people coming through and the excitement over that, like that was so cool. It was so cool. I told Lizzie, like I would do that again in a heartbeat, because like it was just so much fun to be able to just talk with all these fans who were so excited to be there, and like Stephanie's on the other side of the wall. So that was a pretty cool one.
Yeah, anytime that it was sitting by somebody or doing those, that was always pretty fun, especially when boys drew on tablecloths.
I think anytime I was with someone that it was their first time to experience any of that.
Yeah.
First time of seeing anybody experience a celebrity, or especially some of the like Stephanie, or if it was the first time in the room with Rob or Kristen or something like that, and just witnessing that first moment for them was it's you kind of wish you could go back and have your first moment again. I mean, my first moment with Stephanie was a little bit anticlimactic. She was just there.
I mean, that was for me the most like climactic, I think, was Elizabeth. I mean, that one at Comic-Con, meeting her and like having this whole moment, and her like knowing who I was somehow from like my Tumblr. I'm like, is Peter sitting on set being like, check out this girl? Like, it was just that was, and then doing the interview with Scott Mans from Access Hollywood, like it was just this whole thing. And then said the whole coming around to being in the dark at Breaking Dawn Part 1 on the other side, away from the carpet on the bleachers, and like her people spotting me with my Team Esme sign and sending her across, and her walking across the street and was like, saw me, was like, Comic-Con. So, and that's in the Forever DVD set.
Yep.
That moment captured forever.
Yeah.
Anything. Cat here.
Hi, Kat.
Down memory lane.
Yeah, it was said we've had just so many things and so many moments and so many.
She called them newborns. All right, anybody in the chat have any questions? Like, we'll even take random, whatever weird questions.
Yeah. You have something to ask. We're here.
Go.
Lower than Instagram, like waiting for questions on Instagram. The delay is a good like minute behind.
Oh,
Geez.
fun.
And now I'm thinking that they just don't have questions.
Like, no, I don't have any questions. I said that in the chat.
We have no questions. So what?
I think there's a question.
What are your heartbreaking I should have moments or I missed opportunities? The red carpet for Breaking Dawn Part 2.
Not being able to change my flight after the Eclipse premiere because Christian Serratos invited me to the after party.
Yeah.
We could not for the life of us figure out how to change our flight. She invited my friend Shannon and I, and we could not figure out how to change our flight. She's like, I don't care what it takes. I want you to come to the, okay, we can't. We have to go get our flight.
Are you going to pay for our flight? Like,
are you going to pay for my new flight? Maybe my luggage wouldn't have gotten lost if we would have stayed.
Yeah. Oh God, that sucks so bad.
I actually have a good flight story. about Forks, but I'll let you answer this question first, and then I'll come back and tell my flight story. Do you have a I wish I could have, shoulda, woulda, coulda, Amy?
Well, one, I mean, regrets is that I still don't have a photo with Kristen Stewart, but I would say like my moment of regret is that when that photo happened. So my moments. So I kind of like walked up, and Peter and Elizabeth and Eric Copes from Summit and somebody else that I knew were all sitting there. And I was just like, oh my God, like this is my moment that Peter and Elizabeth are together. My bucket list thing is I want a picture with Carlisle and Esme. This is what I've wanted all along. They're right here together. They know who I am. And so I kind of like walked up, and Allison from Twi Fans was with me. She's going to take the picture. And they're sitting there. And I was just like, one track mind, photo. And so I walk up, and like Peter like sees me. I'm like, I kind of wave. And he pulled me, like wanted me to like come over and sit down. And I was like, my mind was like, I don't want to bother them. Like, I just want to get this picture. I'm like, my dumb ass, I could have sat down and talked with them. And I was just so focused. He was like, introducing me to like Eric. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that moment of I could have just sat down and like been like whatever else and chilled with Peter and Elizabeth. And I just was like so focused on, I don't want to bother them. I just want to get my picture. Like I need to get my picture. And I'm like that. So there was moments where like, I wish my mind had just kind of slowed down.
Did you ever get a chance to just sit and chat?
No.
Because he's like Chatty Cathy.
I know.
When I met Peter, he sat across from me and just chatted about a bunch of crap. And I was like,
yeah. I got just sat down with Peter and Elizabeth and chatted at a party. And I was like, yeah. So that one I kick myself in the butt with all the time. But not that I haven't had other conversations since then, before then. But yeah, that one was, the picture is amazing. Yeah. I love it. I'm so happy with it. It's wonderful. I've never seen anybody else with a photo like that. So, but yeah, that was definitely a moment for me of regret. And then I say like going to some of the stuff for New Moon, I was just, too scared of the fandom to go to. And it sounds like based on what, Mel's talking about a hot topic, maybe it's good I didn't go to that event in LA. So yeah.
Any other coulda, woulda, shouldas?
Yeah. I kind of have a regret. There was a small convention actually in Sacramento one of the years, and Cheske and Alex were there. And I'd seen them a couple of times for that stuff, doing that stuff. And there was like nobody at that convention. I remember that. And I remember when they did like the prom at the end of the night, just standing there and talking with both of them and being like, sorry, they were going to dinner somewhere. And like, they said, you should come with us. And I was like, well, I have a friend here. And I felt like I can't really just drop my friend to go do this. And like, I kicked myself that I didn't go do that just because it would be so cool to have kind of like a outside of conventions, kind of like real sit down where I just got to talk to them as kind of like guys. So that's kind of the one that I kind of kicked myself about, where I was like, oh my God, I could have just gone. Like my friend would have understood. Like she was a chill chick. She had other friends there too. It would just, like, I'm dumb. Sometimes I'm dumb.
Yeah. They asked a question in the chat for, what is this person's name? Twilfler website? Craziest, longest trip you have had to take to get to an event. Mine is so that spirals into my airplane story. I went to New York so I live in Tennessee. I went to New York because Laura lived in New Jersey, close to New York City. I went to New York and we spent a couple of days in New York, and I can't remember what we saw. We went and saw Broadway, something or other. And then we took a flight from New York all the way to Forks. it was our first trip to Forks, and we were meeting a bunch of our friends out in Forks, and it was like a little small fan gathering out in Forks. And that journey, oh my gosh, like the flight, we got to the airport, like, let's say, I can't remember the times exactly, but let's say our flight was leaving at 8 a.m. We got to the airport at 5. And Newark Airport is notorious for delayed flights. So we're 3 hours early. And as we approach, they had fog and several delayed and canceled flights. And the line to check in was like 5 hours long. And they were trying to deal with people who had delayed and missed flights. And we kept saying, we have not missed our flight yet. Our flight, we can still make our flight. We have not missed our flight. We kept trying to get everybody's attention, and they would not push us through to the front. We missed our flight, waiting in line for all the people that had missed flights. And so then trying to get it switched, we lost a whole day in Forks. And we weren't going to be there all that long anyway. And we ended up missing an entire day in Forks. We eventually got out there, and it was such an awful thing. And I was so angry with the airline, and I was saying, we should get some money back for this, because we've now missed part of our trip, and how awful. Ugh, so frustrated. So we did our first Forks trip, and we had fun with our friends. We did all of that stuff. And then we go to SeaTac to fly home. Okay. So now remember, I had gone from Nashville to New York to Seattle. So my return flight was just the reverse. Seattle to New York to Nashville. And before I had gone on this trip, I had called the airline and I had said, listen, I really don't want to go to New York. I just want to go to Nashville. Is there a way that I can change these 2 tickets and just go to New York? And they were going to charge me some, like, I don't know, $500 fee to change my flight. And I was like, fine, I will just spend the day in an airplane. So we get to SeaTac, and we're waiting and waiting and waiting. And the place is filling up, and it's huge. And I'm like, this flight cannot be this big. This is crazy. And then they come over the intercom and they say, we've overbooked our flight. Is there anyone who can change their flight arrangements and get a $350 voucher along with changing your flight arrangements? And I like side-eyed Laura, and I said, you've got to be kidding me. They would not change my flight. They were going to charge me to change my flight. Now watch this. I walk up to the counter and I say, hello, I'm on the flight to New York that you just announced that you need people to change their seat. And she goes, oh, are you willing? And I said, I'll do one even better. I don't even want to go to New York. Get me to Nashville? And she said, yes, we can do that. And I said, do I still get my $350? Yes, we'll do that.
Boss move.
All of that. I got my $350. So my next flight, wherever I went, was paid for, and I didn't have to go to New York. I actually went to LA and then to Nashville. But that's my longest flight was Nashville to New York to that, and then almost having to do it in reverse.
Okay.
Anybody got a longer flight?
No, I just had a
really
situation.
Long day. LA to New York. I was going to New York for the the Twilight Forever event, like the year after the premiere, when they were doing like the marathon and doing the thing at Planet Hollywood. And I was supposed to fly out, I think, really early Saturday morning. And I was going to get to New York. My mom and I had tickets to see Newsies on Broadway that night. And then the event was like the next 2 days. And there was a shooting in the terminal for Virgin America at LAX the day before.
Oh, yay.
And so, yeah, there was like so I'm like they had shut down the airport. There's like, you're seeing on the news that night, like people like walking along Sepulveda Boulevard trying to, get to the airport. And it was like the terminal, the airline I'm flying on. So that, I got a thing that like the flight was delayed. So it was supposed to be 6 a.m. and it was like, it's like it's the most important route in like the US, LA to JFK. So it was like delayed until like 11, I think. But I was like, where am I going? Because that terminal is still completely shut down. So I had to go to like the international terminal. They then had to like, I'd never been in the international terminal before, like out to like these far, far gates, which then you had to like get on like a bus and go to another gate where I was like, I never seen anything like it. I don't think we took off until 2 almost. It was supposed to be 6 a.m. flight. So we missed my show. I was like, no way I'm making it to the Broadway show. And so like, I didn't get in, like I had planned, I was going to get in, I was going to take the subway in. I was like, I'm getting in a cab. I'm like, not even dealing with that. And my mom was like, already there in the city waiting for me. So that was a pretty long trip. And I will say like the New York to Forks thing, I did do that for the year I was living back on the East Coast. And I was like, I'm taking next year off. If I wasn't living in Washington, I would have not been there last year. Cause I was like, that it's so much. I mean, I did it many times where I would fly up from SoCal, rent the car and go, but like flying cross country and then doing it.
People don't realize that just getting to Seattle, that's half the battle.
Yeah. And it's 4 hours in the car after you get to the rental car and get the car.
Yes. Because then you have to go get your luggage, go get your rental car. It is a hard, long day of travel to get from anywhere to Forks.
I always tell the people who are like, oh, I have a 6 a.m. flight back out of Seattle. I'm like, what the hell were you thinking? Like people getting up in the middle of the night to go back because they've got to, or not even sleeping. They've got to get after the event, get in their car and go. I'm like, book a flight the next night. Like, don't book a flight for morning. Like it's gonna be awful.
You don't want to once you're in Forks, your flight home, you don't want it to leave before noon.
Yeah, no.
I mean, even then, like I said,
even then that's a nightmare.
No, I'm always like getting like, the latest flight I could get back to LA usually, which was like usually like, or I'd get like something like 7 to 8 o'clock at night.
Okay, let's see. Lori, have you had any problems with people bombarding your kids with Twilight questions or wanting to know exclusive things since you're the Twilight lexicon? My kids haven't gotten it so much. My poor kids got more that mom's not home. When Twilight was like, Twilight, I was never home. And we actually did an April Fool's Day where it was like an intervention because we were never home. And so if you go and you look on our YouTube channel, you can see video footage of my kids pretending like, mom's always doing the lexicon. We can't stand the lexicon. No, but my kids never got asked anything. Do they want to know?
Yeah, yours were pretty young though. That's why.
They were really small. I think everybody wants to know some exclusive things. You know what I never did was I was going to get out my Word document of Midnight Sun and like read my notes of things that of my reactions, because that's the only way I know how to react to Midnight Sun, because you all read it for the first time, but when I read it for the first time, I did not know any of that other stuff. So I should do that sometime. That'll show you how completely dumb I was. It's the Twilifer website. Well, it was because I was reading that without my glasses on, and I was like, I don't know what this word is.
Twilifer.
What is this? What's happening? I don't know what's going on.
What do your students know about your Twilight life? Lots of things. Lots of things. One of the students that I had talked about a couple of weeks ago, or in one of our chats, she's actually watched it, And she said, so I was watching your video and you mentioned a student and that had to be me, right? I was like,
Aw.
Yeah.
That's so cute.
Now she's gonna see this one, and next
There you
month she's
go.
gonna be like, "You mentioned me again."
she's valedictorian.
Oh wow.
Valedictorian. Yeah.
See, it's not dumb girls that are Twilight fans.
No. I teach I teach theater, which, you know, anybody can take, and oftentimes people think is a blow off class, but then I also teach a state dual credit speech class. So if you take my speech class, then you might not have to take it in college. Let's see. If you could have one thing not wardrobe related from the movie set, what would you pick and why? Carlisle's cross, right, Amy?
I was gonna say Carlisle's Mercedes. The house. I want the house.
I'm thinking props. Picked up and brought into your house. Think.
I want one of the Volturi throne chairs so bad. That would be like my computer chair. Like, think of this with that throne. Oh,
I know where two of them are.
damn it. Don't tell me.
What would you pick, Mel?
I can't bring it home. The Denali house.
Props. A prop thing. Something
That is a prop.
That is a prop. That is a prop. Well, technically, they did rebuild.
Honestly, I considered, but I knew it would be crazy on shipping because like nobody was bidding on it. Jacob's couch.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Like nobody bid on it because they knew how much it was going to be to get it shipped.
Yeah.
I mean, things that I'm like the t-shirt quilt blanket. I mean, I would love to have that. Yeah, the cross definitely was another thing. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, just like, you know, for me, it's like I want to see things that were also usually like in the books. So as I said, like the jewelry, like the Cullen Crest stuff was not as appealing to me, even though I'm very lucky to have a piece of the jewelry. But yeah, it was like more things that that's why I like the cross, because it's something that's in the book.
The yellow Porsche. That would be
Yellow
nice.
Porsche, the Mercedes. So
New Moon
those Volvos
Volvo.
were not book accurate. So
they kept getting, his Volvo kept getting darker and darker and darker.
This is
But
not
I drove
silver.
the style of the New Moon one and I really liked driving it. So I would happily drive that again.
But I some object, not clothing related.
The vial of Edward's venom. Just have that. You could say that that's his sparkly spoo.
The Chuck Esme doll.
She's in Forks.
She's creepy.
She's so ugly. I know she's in Forks. Somebody did.
Her extra arm is somewhere else in
It's-
Forks.
huh?
Who bought her?
Chuck
They
Esme?
They didn't actually buy her. Jack somehow finagled that one.
Just well, when you know the director.
I mean, I'm just thinking like other things like Carlisle's stethoscope or his like ID badge from the hospital.
I would like.
Arrow's head.
Head.
I would like to have a script from one of the actors to see what their notes were, what direction they were given. What I'd like to have a script, because as a theater person, what I write in my scripts as a director or what I write in my scripts as an actor, it's very telling. I can look back at scripts and know, you know, like I can see what the direction that I was given or something that they asked me to ponder or something like that. So,
Boy, that's not a prop.
but it's a thing I could bring home.
Well, I could bring home the house too. It could be my home, but yeah.
Well, you could remember they rebuilt it on a sound stage. They
Yeah,
rebuilt the
exactly.
house.
Twice in my life, I have seen people pick up houses and move them to other places. So I'd like to see you do that, Amy.
Think of the shipping on that.
What are the taxes on that?
Yeah, think of the property taxes on that one.
So the two times in I'm from Noblesville, Indiana. So if you know this story, you can verify that I'm telling the truth. Downtown Noblesville, Indiana, there was a church, a Catholic church that they had purchased an old Victorian home next to it and had used that as like their like Sunday school classes and things like that. Well, they were going to demolish the house and expand onto the church because the house was old, and you know they thought, well, we want something new. And the historic home society people were like, no, you can't tear down this beautiful house. Somebody bought the house from the church, and they had to close the main street of town, and they picked up the house, took it across the street, turned it around, set it down, and the house is still there. It's the Craig house in Noblesville. So the house is still there. They saved the house.
That would happen quite a lot in the Northeast. So, and remember it happening in the next town over. It was like this old, like had been on like the stagecoach sort of line between Philadelphia and Atlantic City. And they like took it, was in Berlin, New Jersey. It had been like a hotel and different things over the years. It was almost looked like two buildings. They picked it up, put it like 2 blocks back. And like they built like I'm not even sure if the pharmacy that they built there is still open. Too many things have been lost in South Jersey to pharmacies that are no longer open.
Someone says that Kat says she wants a Quileute mask from the flashbacks.
Oh.
Okay.
There were only 2 of them, I think, in the auction.
This person, Jessica, wants the chess set. Favorite Twilight filming location you wish you could visit? Isle Esme.
Yeah.
I always make hands down.
Second only to, I'd like to go to Italy.
Yeah, I was gonna say I would like to go to Montepulciano. So
I'm like, the ones I have not been to, Isle Esme, followed by
Yeah.
Where haven't I been? Because I've been all around Vancouver, and yeah.
Yeah, except you were there like on set, so
With a very naked Chesky.
you were in the room where it happens for reals.
We were outside.
cold.
You were in the craft services room where it happens. Video village room where it happens.
Both of my set visits were outside.
I know.
It was cold. It wasn't as cold in Vancouver as it was in Portland. Holy freak. It was cold.
Somebody I think it was Kristen, just posted how she just got also the additional jacket that Bella's wearing underneath the purple jacket that she wears out there. She's wearing like 4 layers, and everybody's like, oh, I bet she was super toasty. I'm like, no, it was super cold.
It had snowed. It was snowing as we were approaching it. It was that cold. And stupid me, I like dressed for an interview. Like I wanted to look nice because this was my first time. It was my first time meeting Kristen and Catherine and Taylor and all of that. And so I wanted to look nice. I did not look nice by the end of the day.
When did you finally drop?
I was soaking wet because the water attacked me. And yeah, it was awful.
When did
The
you
umbrella attacked me. My most embarrassing moment ever is meeting Kristen Stewart for the first time.
Lori.
Yeah.
When did you first meet Rob?
Meet?
Yeah, because you just said about when you first met Kristen and Taylor. When did you first meet Rob?
Meet Rob. Well, I never had like an actual hi Rob, how are you? He came down the black carpet of Eclipse. I think was the first time I saw him face to face.
Oh wow. Okay.
I mean, he was at Comic-Con. I was in the room with him at Comic-Con.
So were thousands of others.
I talked to him on the phone. I talked to him on the phone several times, but he was like the one that I had the least amount of interaction with. because the 2 times that I was on set, it was a Kristen and Taylor scene, both times. It was the beach scene in Twilight, the scary stories, and then it was the night that Edward leaves her and Sam carries her out of the woods, and yeah, so Rob wasn't even on set at either time that I was there. And then I never was part of like on the fandom side of things at any of the carpets where I could get pictures with Rob, because that's the story. When he came down to do all of the interviews, I specifically told my buddy partner, get a picture of me interviewing Rob, because I don't have anything with him in a shot, because I have like video footage with Kristen and Taylor and things like that, but I don't have anything with him and me. And so we did the interview with him, and then he walks across the carpet and I said, did you get the photo? And she said, no. I was like, what? So we all turn around as Rob is signing autographs on the other side of the carpet. We turn around and we take a picture with him like behind us. So like, it's like, there's like 3 girls and then there's this teeny tiny miniature Rob across it. And somebody took the picture and wrote Robert Pattinson with like an arrow. Because you could barely even tell it was Rob. That's it. I've had like minimal interaction with him.
Like, was that from the Eclipse premiere?
No, that was Breaking Dawn Part 1.
Okay. So you're on the opposite side. Okay.
Yeah, because it was Breaking Dawn. We had already established that Laura would be on the carpet for Breaking Dawn Part 2. I thought I'd get to be there, but she was the one that was going to get to do the interviews, because the way that they would usually tell us that we could have one person from our fandom, from our fan site on the carpet, and we usually had to share our spot with like 2 or 3 other people. And so it was like, when they would come to ask you a question, which one of the 3 of you is going to ask the question? It was that kind of, that's how they set it up. And so she did New Moon, I did, because Jen did Twilight, because we didn't know. They told us like 2 days before the premiere that we could have somebody on the carpet. And Jen went for us for that. Then she did New Moon, I did Eclipse, I did Breaking Dawn 1, and she did Breaking Dawn Part 2. And then when they said you can only send one person at all, and then everybody got there, and every fan site had like 5 people anyway, just a little bit bitter.
Little.
You had a right to be bitter. I was pissed at the time. Like, who are you?
I sent them back the emails that said, you specifically said I could not come. And they were like, well, because in the email they said, if you come, you have to get your place in the fan camp and do all of that. And I was like, I can't. I'm a single mom of like a 5-year-old. I can't leave her that long. I can't leave them that long. I can't. And I don't have the money to do all of that. And so I said, if I can't get into a thing, if I have to pay for all of the tickets and stuff like that, I can't go. And then there were like 5 people from this fan site and 5 people from that fan site. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Because Jen paid her way to go to that. And then they let her into all of the things. And I was like, that's my coulda, woulda, shoulda.
Yeah.
No.
I watched from home, like crying, going, I should be there. Missed
You
it.
should have been there.
The Viewpoint Inn, when it was pretty, I've been to the Viewpoint Inn, and I don't know if it was even pretty when I was there.
Were you there before it burned?
But it was run down. It was really run down.
Yeah.
I think we can go to questions.
Been down there since the fire, so.
Huh?
I've only was there after the fire, so. I've never
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah, because go because we went to. We knew they had filmed there. How did I get to the Viewpoint Inn? I gotta think.
You go up a windy road.
I still have not been to any film sites. Like, I still need to.
You not been to Vancouver?
No, nothing.
You know what? I'm trying to piece together in my head when I went to the Viewpoint Inn, because the only time did I go to a convention in Portland?
Maybe. There was the convention that I know Mandy like partnered with them on that Catherine was on, and they like end up getting like doing the bus tour thing.
So I was supposed to be at that one, and my mother had a heart attack and went into and had heart surgery, and I had to pull out of that because I was scheduled to do because that was a huge convention. I was scheduled to do something, and I had to call Gary at the last minute and say, my mom just had a heart attack. I cannot come. So I wasn't at that one. When did I go? I know, because I know I went to the Viewpoint Inn, and we went to Multnomah Falls, and we did all of those things. And that was not at the time that I did the set visit. It would have been after Twilight. When did I do that?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Timeline it out. Timeline it all out.
Any other questions? We've been chatting for a while.
That's okay.
Thank you for tonight. I work at 4:30 in the morning, so it's time to go to sleep. Good Lord. Where do you work at 4:30 in the morning?
I used to do stocking stuff over at PetSmart. I mean, heck, we would have to be in there by 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning.
I do that on weekends. I have to be in at 4:30.
4:30 in the morning?
It's weird.
Temperature scanning at the airport.
That's her part-time job.
I thought it was bad getting up at 5:30 in the morning. I get up at 5:30, like 5:20, in order to make it to work I like to be there early. I get there
every other day of the week. Nope.
Well, I mean, I was doing that when I was commuting, but now that I'm home.
Starbucks.
First meeting at 7:30. All right, roll out of bed at 7:20.
Right? No.
Will we ever get to see all of you at Forever Twilight and Forks? I plan to be there next year. Do you? You're all going to be there next year?
There.
I mean, I have nothing booked yet, but I'm sure I will be there.
Yeah, mine's easy now because I've got a family member up near Seattle now, so it's just like, hey, can I come visit?
As long as I'm vaccinated by then.
I'm not booking anything until they announce that they're actually doing it, and it's a face-to-face thing.
Yeah.
But the plan is to be there.
Yes.
The plan is to be there and not have to go through the stress of planning an online event again.
Yeah. No.
But you did a good job.
Yeah, it's said we'll just kind of have to see. I mean, I have my shirt on. So yeah, planning on it. But yeah, we'll see.
No, we were like, if it doesn't happen, are we gonna have to just cross off 2021 and write 2022 on the shirt?
All right.
So I saw
we'll add like eventually.
Yeah.
I saw a meme today that said, y'all think you're over 2020. Wait till it turns 21 and starts drinking.
Oh my God.
And I was like, don't say that. Nothing can ever be worse than 2020. It really can't.
Now you jinxed it.
Yeah, don't say that.
I'm shouting Jumanji at midnight on New Year's Eve.
I mean, it's not over yet. I mean, said it's like been, I feel like it's been almost every day this week that like I found out that like either somebody I know has died or somebody I know like has lost somebody. So, or finding out that somebody has COVID. So it's, yeah. So I'm like, we're not there yet. We're not done.
No.
Well, tomorrow is officially the last day of this semester of school, and I took it off.
Perfect.
Good for you.
Well, It should be finals. Finals should have been yesterday and today. And because they had to have their benchmarks graded and submitted to the state by tomorrow, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. First of all, what notorious person is forcing you to take benchmarks? And second of all, who's making you turn them in before, like, on the last day of school? That's just.
Lori, are we gonna eventually do our Carlisle and Esme discussion in the new year?
So should we? So here's the thing. Let me get my calendar out and let's look.
I'm like, next week is Christmas Eve, so no. But
could we do it on a Wednesday? Would people join us on a Wednesday?
I don't know.
Can we steal your Tuesday?
We're trying to enjoy like a little time off.
Because we either do it Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve. That doesn't work.
No. Or in the new year.
Well, because then it gets really bad because you're all gonna say, you're doing what? No, because I am the theater teacher and my school is face to face and they want a show.
Oh my God, what show are you doing?
Into the Woods. Because it's just little pockets. We're rehearsing for 4 freaking months because I've only got like these 2 kids or 3 kids on this day, and these 2 or 3 kids on this day, and these 2 or 3 kids on this day. Because they're like, come April, it'll be good, right?
All right.
No.
Sure.
I'm like, I've had too many conversations with actual like medical people and people in the know that like, yeah, no, it's not gonna be.
No.
Maybe early summer, us, regular people start. You may get you as a teacher and as an essential worker may get it before we do.
Well,
but I'm like 300 million on the list. So.
Yeah, I'm like 6 million and something. I'm like, okay.
Really?
I'll be one of the last people in the state.
Oh my God, when I plugged it in for like the national or whatever for nationally, I was like over 300 million.
Oh yeah, the national, but the Washington State one, yeah, I was like one of the end.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
So is anyone interested in, do you think we could do it on a Wednesday, or you honestly just want to wait until 2021?
I kind of will wait till 2021.
Okay.
I mean, that's
then I'll have a brain again. I hope.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of like I took off the week between Christmas and New Year's because I just kind of need to like decompress. So, yeah.
Because I got yeah, believe it or not, there's stuff on my calendar. There's stuff to do. So.
On your lovely planners that you always post that I love to look at.
My next year planner is all look, I've already got my Beauty and the Beast page done.
I see some I would join on a Wednesday.
Well, that would be over the next 2 weeks we were talking about, because the next 2 Thursdays are Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
That's not happening.
You guys should do a ranking of podcasts. I don't know that any of us are really podcast people. Like Best Vampire. Oh, like a podcast. So like Best Vampire Powers, Strongest Covens, etc.
That would be cool.
A ranking of
yeah, to be like, who's your favorite, rank the Cullens, like, or rank your vampire powers, or rank the humans, like, I don't know.
That would take some research for me.
What's that?
That would take some research.
Yeah. Ask us to do that one after we do Twilight Tuesday of the official guide.
All right.
Are you doing a Twilight Tuesday of the official guide?
We are going to eventually do the official guide. Yeah. We're doing it all.
What? Are you up to Breaking Dawn next, though?
Yeah, we're going to do Breaking Dawn next. So that'll be like next 6 months. So.
There's so many chapters in that.
Yeah.
Because Stephanie had said you should read Breaking Dawn after Midnight Sun. So whenever gets happiness. So we're listening to Stephanie. Plus, the last book we did before Midnight Sun was Eclipse. So,
Right.
yeah.
Well, that's what I thought it was, because I knew you had gotten through Eclipse. You didn't get through all 4 books before Midnight Sun.
Yeah. So we're going to go back to Breaking Dawn, which should be really interesting because it's been a while.
It's been a
Been a
while.
minute.
Yeah.
Been a minute.
And it's different than the movie.
Yeah, it is so different than the
Oh
movie.
yeah.
So,
All right, so we will look at, we'll discuss in our little Facebook chat of what is January's? Let me look at January's.
so we
I'm
got
like, my birthday's on a Wednesday, but that's also inauguration day. So
January 7th.
Jessica Slavic said, seeing you ladies first thing in 2021 would be a great way to start the year.
Yay!
January 7th looks to be like the first Thursday. If we aim for January 7th,
Yeah, sounds good to me.
school will have just started back up.
You'll need us.
Yeah. Don't look at it that way. You've got the next couple weeks off. Don't plan to be unhappy. Come on.
Well, see, we're on semesters. So all of the classes that I just taught, I won't be teaching anymore. I get all new classes next semester.
Yeah.
It's like college.
Yeah.
You do a year's worth of material in one semester.
Yeah.
Which I hate, because then when they go into, like this year, when they go into quarantine, it's always been when they're sick and they miss. So like if they miss 2 days of school because they're sick, they've actually missed the equivalent of about 5 days of material.
Yeah.
4 days of material. Okay. So now when they went into quarantine, if they were in quarantine for 2 weeks, they actually missed like a month's worth of material.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's
like,
crazy.
please don't make us do the semester thing. Please don't make us do the semester thing. And they left us in the semester thing.
Boo.
Everybody's grades are suffering. Anyway, okay. So it looks like we'll aim for January 7th.
Talking about Carlisle and Esme.
Carlisle and Esme.
I will be working.
I'll have to put it on the lexicon. What are your top Carlisle and Esme questions or something like that?
Yes.
Yes.
Other than the ones that you've already pointed out.
Well, and put it in our chat group now so you can get people like committed. So
Yeah.
Like right now, say you've got
in like our Facebook groups so that people know like that's what the plan is. So if people want to raise their hands.
Okay.
People signed up.
Savvy just said
You're on there.
I'll be there.
I'm sorry.
we wouldn't do a Carlisle and Esme chat without Oh My Carlisle.
Yes.
It's just
We ever do a Volturi chat, I will take the day off work.
That was one of my options that I gave to people, and that it was Alice was number 1, and then Carlisle and Esme were number 2.
Yes.
Because they weren't voting for Jasper. I'm sorry to say, people didn't. It was Alice and and they weren't voting for Jasper. They were voting for Alice.
I don't know why I love Jasper. Well, actually, I think I love Jackson more than Jasper, but still.
Dark and creepy compared to all the rest of them.
I like dark and creepy.
At least Rosalie has, like the personality of and a lot of the like the screen time, I guess. All right. So, any more questions before we sign off? Let's see.
I didn't see any more, but if anybody is wanting to buy the Don't Hate the Truck from Carver Cafe campaign, the website freaked out last night before it was actually supposed to shut, and like 2 or 3 people were trying to order and their orders didn't go through and like everything just shut down. So that one is reopened for people. It's like as a soft relaunch, so it doesn't have an actual set end time, but I'm going to end it Saturday. So if people want to order that, that's up in my link tree on my Instagram.
And if you order Twilight Tuesday merch through Christmas, all the proceeds will also go to Carver Cafe. So
And we're at over $1,100 for Carver Cafe. So
Woo! I saw that the day that it was posted up. I'm like, yes, donate.
Oh, question for the for the Carlisle and Esme chat. Will we bring in the OC Esme and Carlisle? Yes, I would love Connor and Sarah to be the guests for that one.
Aww. We would love for them to do it. It's really going to depend on what their Disney schedule looks like and if they're willing to do it.
And their knowledge of Carlisle and Esme. As well as they play them, I know more.
Let's be honest.
Let's be honest. I think Cameron might know more than Connor, but I love them, and I love them to death. You all know that. I love them to death.
Yeah.
They're on my wall in front of me. So, but when Sarah said that she didn't know that Edward killed Charles, I was like, yeah. So doesn't matter that we still love Sarah, and she's an amazing Esme, whether she knows stuff or not. So she's fantastic. She really is. She's really is.
You need to give her like a little. Does she have the guide? Does she have?
I don't know if she does.
The thing is, though, the part about Edward killing Charles is not in Esme's bio. It's in Edward's bio.
Yeah.
Because yeah, you have to pick and choose where you put things.
And that was not in the like original correspondence either.
Mm-mm. No, that was one of the things that we found out.
Yeah.
And I mean, there were lots of those things that it was like, whose bio do we put that in? Do we put it in both? Where do we put it?
Mm-hmm.
We put it in because it was more, while that does affect Esme, it didn't change anything really for her other than that he did this for her. But that was like who he went after. And actually killing people and drinking their blood for the first time. And that changed things for Edward. But so we put it in his bio.
Plus, you probably had more space to put information in Edward's bio because everybody just wants to know everything about Edward. Whereas poor Esme, like, we're still asking questions. I mean, come on.
So you two, you have
bios longer.
You have,
I know, right?
You have connections with the Olympic Coven. You gonna ask them, or do I need to ask them?
I can ask.
Do we?
Nobody said what I just said.
No.
Amy knows all.
Bow down to Amy.
Just for that.
We'll have to plan the way we ask.
I don't know, Mel. Who in the Olympic Coven knows the most about Carlisle and Esme? Would it be a former Carlisle or Esme?
Tori might.
You think about that.
I'll give you something to think about over break.
There we go.
Somebody said they'd like me to do another story time. Maybe that's what I'll do next Wednesday. I'll read my notes from Midnight Sun.
Yeah.
I'll get out my copy of Midnight Sun and read my very naive, very stupid reactions to Midnight Sun.
It's okay. It's okay. You didn't know. It's fine.
I was like obsessed with Rosalie. What the crap happened to Rosalie? Why is she so mean? I didn't know. I didn't know she had what she'd gone through. I didn't know any of that. It's just proof. I mean, if you want proof of how stupid I was, read my fan fiction.
I have it. I do have it marked to read at some point. So maybe I'll do that over Christmas break. I'll read Lori's fan fiction.
So bad. It's so bad, especially now that we've read that Midnight Sun is out there. I'm like, I need to take this down.
No, don't take it down. It's legendary.
To take it down.
Do it. Don't do it.
I made Edward much more sexually attracted to Bella. Chico figure.
As we do with everyone in fan fiction. So
was a much more driving force than
As I say, Esme's gift is to love passionately.
The
She's not
black.
just a housewife.
I remember making like no, I won't even go there. You can.
Oh, I'm gonna read this over Christmas.
The scene where they're in the diner, like Bella gets the chills and he gives her his coat, right? Well, when women get the chills, things happen.
Oh my God.
Do you pee a little?
Headlights.
Oh, Bella.
Oh, Edward's perfect eyesight.
He's trying to be a gentleman. All right, we're gonna sign off now.
Okay.
Good night, everybody. Happy holidays.
Yes.
Whatever you celebrate.
Be happy about it.
Hanukkah is it today?
It's the last night of Hanukkah.
Yep.
The last day?
Yep.
Happy Hanukkah. When's Kwanzaa?
Right, December 26th.
I was gonna say after Christmas.
Boxing Day.
All the holidays. Happy holidays. Have a great season. If you're shut in from the storm, build a snowman for me. If you're shut in from COVID, so are we.
Mel's gonna be my Christmas buddy too. So
I am.
it's the two of us for Christmas.
You know what? Honestly, I have thought about that several times. So many times I've thought to myself, like over Thanksgiving, I was like, what is she doing for Thanksgiving? What are you guys doing? Because you can't go home.
No.
Mm,
No.
I never have because it's too expensive.
Even though it's expensive, I always go. So, but yeah. So, but Mel's gonna come hang out with me. We're gonna have a fun Christmas.
I'm
We
gonna
got to know what we're eating.
have a very quiet Christmas day at home because we're not going anywhere or have anybody come in. So it's, you know, once my kids open their, you know, they get like 3 or 4 presents, then they're gonna go back to bed.
That's what I used to do.
Because my kids are teenagers now, so the all of that's over, and having to build things. I don't ever have to, you know, that I don't give them presents where I have to build things. Oh, you don't have children, and you might get children at some point. Just beware if you buy presents that then you have to build. You will spend all Christmas Day building.
No, you buy them Legos and then they have to build them themselves.
Yep.
No, because then your son wants you to build them with. Because I have my son has all the Harry Potter Legos, and he would want me to build them with him.
Yeah.
Help me find this Lego, mommy.
See,
Go-
I like that stuff, so I would be okay with that.
So, you know, if you guys want to, I wouldn't mind chatting with you guys on Christmas Day either, because I ain't got nothing better to do. Happy holidays. Have a good evening. Good night. Thank you all for joining us on our attempt to entertain ourselves.
Basically.
A little, because we couldn't think, and we didn't want to think too hard.
It's all right. We
Well, it's
succeeded.
my game for Carlisle and Esme. So
Yeah, she said, I have to bring my A game. Do not make me think.
yeah.
Yep.
'Cause I just
Perfect.
can't. All right. So you've got like a 2-week warning for Carlisle and Esme.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right.
Everybody.